Yes, hello. I am James Rowland. It's WNR596. It's NXT Vengeance Day. I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by a resident NXT expert, New Japan demigod, and toxic AEW Stanhausen. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Hey, that fit. I like how they kind of fit in a little bit smoother than I thought. Cause like I'm collecting monikers. I don't know what moniker I'm gonna have to let go. But it won't be NXT expert because I am still watching NXT religiously at this point. That's what we're talking about today. So it's cool to get caught up because the next few weeks with Mania season and I think we still got Dynasty for AEW because
Hmm.
now they're starting their pay-per-view trail. So we got a lot to cover. So it's gonna be cool to go ahead and just catch up now with NXT, and then we can kind of get into this busy time of the year because this time of the year is always hectic.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, we've got 4 episodes of NXT getting up to date for the first time this year, plus Vengeance Day. And I have to apologise, Monty, for the last update. I was a little bit down, but it's just because the amount of Vanity Project, and you know what I mean, just the feeling of 2.0. And again, it's always jarring to come back to NXT and realise it's not the same as you remember, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing about NXT. I mean, we're on a lot of episodes. We've been doing this now for like what it's definitely for sure 5 years, going on
Mm.
six. And so you just gotta think about how many iterations of NXT we seen just did, like from the pandemic to like where we are now, like you said, 2.0, and then like the Mellow and Trick era to NXT UK popping in and then no longer existing to now where we are. It's crazy when you think about how much turnover, how many faces we've seen come and go. And so yeah, I think that's the one unique thing. It'd be funny going back and listening to a show from when we were first starting, just how different the roster is and all of that. Like, yeah, man, NXT is that's the one thing about it. Like, for example, you look on the main roster, we still got people like Randy Orton in the mix. You still got Roman Reigns setting up for another Mania main event and all of that. But if you go through NXT, man, like it has evolved in many
Mm.
ways. Some things are still the same, but there's a lot of moving pieces and just different iterations. So I don't know. I'm with you. I don't want to say we in 2.0 land it, but we are in a weird amalgam mesh of like periods right now in NXT where sometimes it feels like the NXT of that started to formulate a new identity, and then sometimes it feels like you said 2.0. I think we are for a long time away from like the pure takeover, like feeling like a whole different indie promotion from WWE. I think we're a long way away from that version of NXT. But just think about what I just said. That's like three, four different eras of NXT right there that we've kind of just been viewing. So it's funny how much NXT evolves, but don't we'll see. I'm holding out hope that we're not going toward the 2.0 end of the spectrum. But again, in a few months, I might be just as down as you were last year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like we talk about NXT being our baby. You know, she's grown up at the moment, but we just don't like her boyfriend. You know. But anyway,
Yeah,
as we had left
she
it
dating
with Mole.
Stacks.
Yeah, exactly. White stacks. Don't get me. That's not going to be the first time I say it on this update. Actually, white stacks. We'd last left it with Miles Bourne becoming a new North American champion, and Zarya destroying her friendship with Soul and Ruka herself. We start March 3rd. Miles Bourne came to the ring to celebrate winning the North American Championship from All Ego. The crowd chanted, "You deserve it," as he started to talk about how good it feels to finally have the title on his shoulder. He thanked the haters like All Ego for doubting him because they pushed him to be better. He said he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep the belt, which brought out All Ego to respond. Pace said he wanted the rematch and Bourne was up for it. Robert Stone came out and made it official. A ref showed up, the bell rang, and they started fighting in their suits. Page ended up losing his trousers, where they tore in several places, but unfortunately, or thankfully for some, he was wearing boxer briefs. Bourne ended up using his shoe to hit Page when the ref wasn't looking, which opened the door for his finisher to get a quick win. Monty, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Miles Bourne, but fans chant "You deserve it" to everybody. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know why I'm picking on
everybody
Miles. It
deserves it.
seems, but it's everybody.
It got more so to do with the fans in that regard. I don't think got much to do with him other than all right, sure he deserves it. You know, sure, he deserves it, I guess. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't nowhere near what they were trying to do last week. I think this was just trying to put an exclamation point on this story. So, it was what it was. I mean, it was funny that Ethan got kind of stripped to his his underwear. I kind of got a kick out of it, in a comedy kind of way. But, again, Ethan not regaining it was predictable. But again, I hope that they don't drop the ball with the North American title. It's such a good lineage that I hope they still give Miles Bourne a chance to kind of become something, grow into some type of character along with this championship run. At the very least, let's get some competitive defenses. That's something I can really be optimistic about when it comes because I do believe, although Miles Bourne has gotten here, outside, and I don't want to sound insensitive, but like outside of talking about his story and his disability, they don't really give him a lot of character outside of it, or a lot of or like we don't get much. They haven't involved him in enough, even with the kind of like, is he willing to go there feud they just gave him with Ethan Page. So hopefully, as champion, he gets a chance to kind of show some layers because, as great as he is, that is a one-dimensional type babyface that he will probably be if that's the only thing they'll show of him. So he looks like $1 million. I think I can see the talent there. I don't know about the zigzag per se as like a finisher for a guy as big as he is, but I mean it is what it is. I'm not mad at it for now. So again, I want to see him evolve and I want to see him coming to his own as champion. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do going forward. But this is a nice little way to kind of move on from Ethan Page, I think.
Yeah, sometimes wrestling is so homoerotic, and people just don't realise, But
Very
anyway,
homoerotic. It's
I,
very homoerotic.
I felt it. Anyway, Tony D arrived right after Dark State were forced inside. What were the chances? Blake Monroe was out after a break for a promo for Jada Parker, joined her for a scheduled face-to-face. Monroe said Parker needs her because it brings more spotlight to her. As expected, the crowd gave Parker a warm welcome when she came out. She said Monroe thinks wrestling rolls around her, but she's really just insecure. Parker ended up pushing Monroe until she snapped, attacked her, but Miss Parker sent her out the ring with relative ease. And again, it's just setting the stage for the match. I don't mind it. It's nice to see the difference, though, and we have seen it elsewhere with kind of like outside talent now, either from TNA or AEW versus like WWE homegrown stars, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's also Jada in her safe space. Like that's just her at her best right there. Like being able to kind of deliver a promo and just like speak from a. I thought the angle that she took for like the insecurities of someone like Blake, who kind of exudes that she is the most important, this and that. But yeah, I think again, I think that angle was great from the promo, and I love her delivery. Like again, this is her at her best. Like whenever if she wherever she goes to the next level or whatever she decides to do, no matter how long her run in NXT, I do believe that obviously we know where she needs to improve is like in between the rows. But when it comes to setting up a match or getting you invested, because even for me who thinks she seemed to have more of a personality that worked better when she was kind of a heel, she's doing so well as a babyface where I was like, you know what, I'm impressed because usually it takes a little bit like one you can see where one person is better at than the other. Like even with Kalani, who was kind of selling into her heel role, you can see that naturally as a baby face, even though she was lacking personality there, I was like, okay, I think she leans more to a baby face. It fits her style. But she's starting to develop into a heel rather well. I think what
Mm.
Jada Parker has been doing as a baby face has been way more compelling than I actually expected it. So it's really cool to see that versatility as a character. Now we just need to put the pieces together consistent, like and get her consistent ring time. And I think she can be. I mean, we've been saying this. Jada has the potential to be on top of this division for a while now. So it's good to see her handle, kind of hang with somebody like Blake, who we look at as a top tier woman in this division already. And I thought that Jada kind of shined in the promo, not over Blake per se, but it was kind of interesting to kind of see them do this. But yeah, we ready for the match now at this point.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ricky Saints had a backstage segment with Paige and Vanity Project. The next bout was the speed tournament between Nikita Lyons and Ren Sinclair. As usual, Kendall Gray was in Ren's corner. Both women brought a lot of energy, but the match itself was very forgettable. Sinclair scored a submission with just seconds to spare. We did mention Lyons on the last update, and I do fear for her post Mania, you know, because it feels like even now they're putting her there to see if she, not sink or swim, so to speak, but what level she's at. And as we've spoken about probably every update with the women's division, how packed it is and the amount of people
Hmm.
coming through now, have we seen the
Yeah.
success through all the other programs, you know?
Yeah, man, exactly. Like we getting evolved. I'm assuming in NXT, if we lose a couple more girls, like I'm assuming Jason Jane eventually is gonna have to go somewhere. And like you got people like that, you got people like that who've been in NXT forever. Lola Vice, like they're gonna eventually have to probably get called up or get drafted or something. So I assume that that makes space for the the Callie Alexanders and some of the other evolved ladies, and we already see what they see at Kendall Gray, and again, it's such a revolving door at this point, and like we're so deep in the women's division, we got women who are in the Laney Reeds and the Izzies who seem to be kind of improving their stock. So to kind of just look at all these people who came after her start to kind of showcase and be used more and more and more consistently than her is definitely concerning. It's definitely one of the situations. I mean, we talked about it before. We've seen people that we respected from a talent perspective, like Duke Hudson and
Mm.
Isla Dunn and some of these other people, veteran people that we know are good in the ring. They got released, and a lot of the excuses that people were giving was they were in development too long and they were blah blah blah. But what excuse do you got for somebody like this who you haven't really been using? So yeah, it sucks, but yeah, it seems like she's definitely toward that lower tier, or she's definitely dropped down rungs. They don't seem like they want to even try anything creative with her character from a character perspective either at this point. So yeah, we'll see. But not only are you in the speed division, which I don't really take that seriously at the moment,
Mm.
you are also just like you said, like a placeholder in that division. So it's definitely concerning for Nikita, but solid stuff from Ren here. It's good to see. It's funny. I looked at this match and I look at where Ren is at now that she's just kind of doing stuff with Kendall, and it's just funny to me how much of a loser Charlie Dempsey has to be because it seemed like everybody started to win when they left him alone.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah. Jasper Troy had a backstage segment where he challenged Eddie LaFleur to a rematch for the speed title he lost last week. Tate Paxton and Izzy Dame had one final segment before Vengeance Day. It was a heavily produced backstage segment, mute music, several camera
Hmm.
cuts, and a dollhouse set up for Paxi. Well, both of them did fine with the material. I mean, this segment just wasn't needed, but again, it's kind of what I thought the match might be, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, that's why I don't even want to make this an NXT thing. I just think sometimes NXT kind of creep into that territory, and we can talk about that with a couple of angles, like especially when we start talking about after Vengeance Day, and we get into some of the stuff going on, but going into Stand and Deliver. But it's just like they got to do something to continue to remind you that this is happening, Vengeance Day too. So let's just get to the next week, and this felt like one of those placeholder promos that, again, I'm not opposed to it, but like you said, it didn't really add any more heat. We don't get another layer. They've been also telling this whole friendship gone wrong story a long time now. So that's another angle too, to where it's just like, all right, so we just instead of throwing us a regular brawl, we're gonna do a produced backstage version of the promo we did in the crowd or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, okay, like you guys have kind of hit these beats before we get it. We kind of know where we're hitting it, and this is okay. But did it really add something to our story? Did it get us to the next story beat properly? I wouldn't. I don't necessarily think so.
Yeah, without a doubt. Joe Hendry had a backstage segment with Bourne. Congratulating winning the North American title. Shayna Baszler appeared in a segment with Kalani Jordan as a trainer, which is pretty cool. Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, and Jackson Drake attacked Tank, and Shiloh Hill during the entrance to get an early advantage in his six-man tag match. Hill ended up scoring the win for his team by pinning Drake. Afterwards, Monroe appeared on the announce table wearing different clothes. She challenged Parker to a street fight at Valentine's Day before Jada came out and they started brawling. I tell you what, Monty, it makes me like Hank and Tank less. You know, them teaming up with Charlotte Hill. I think that's who I am. And all three of them were wearing different length jeans. That's what I took from that match.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Uh, yeah, I don't know, man. This is fine. You know, that's all I mean, it wasn't a bad match. I came away from it just looking at like, hey, another vanity project match, and
Mm.
I don't know what to tell you about Shiloh Hill. Uh, he wrestles like in Elias's gear, but he just kind of reminds me of like a goofier version of Bo Dallas before he was Uncle Howdy. So I got nothing for you, to be honest,
No, no, I thought
when it
I
comes to
didn't know if
him.
he
But
wanted to defend them or you know what I mean. I didn't know if
who
it was
defend
just
Hank and
me
Tank? I can
or
defend
to
Hank and
defend anybody. Didn't that
oh
funny project? I hate them.
well.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Charlotte
I don't really
Hill.
got. I can't defend Vanity Project. I told you, I'm still in that place where I'm just like, okay, they're young bad guys. That's all I got for you. They don't really do much for me. Uh, I like Mark Jindrak and Garrison Cade better for that gimmick, and that's a deep pool. People might not even remember them as a team together,
They look like
but
men. Do you know what I mean? People like Sean
but yeah,
O'Hare, Chuck
oh, they were
Palumbo. Do you
huge.
know what I
Oh
mean?
my
They
goodness, yeah,
were.
they were huge. Yeah, that's a great
Uh,
point. That's what I'm saying. It's a similar gimmick though, that whole vain like
yeah,
cockiness and. But yeah, you're 100% right. Those guys had a reason to be vain. These boys, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But Hank and Tank, I tried. I'm trying. That's the thing, and I feel like I've never had to try with somebody who was like a good team. But I gotta try with Hank and Tank.
Yeah.
Like with Act Fraction, you didn't have to try. You know what I
No.
mean? You didn't have to
Oh.
try with a lot of even like say what you want about NXT teams because they don't ever really last. But you didn't have to try with Gargano and Ciampa. You didn't have to try with
Mm,
FTR. You didn't have to try. Those teams got we knew, but
yeah.
I gotta
Oh.
try to care about Hank and Tank, and that's pretty sad.
I miss Fraxium, and I do apologise.
MSK.
I do apologise to Sean Stasiak, who's probably listening at home, and we didn't mention him. But yeah, you were
Oh
part of
yeah,
that group
Sean
as well,
Sherman.
you know. Yeah, you shouldn't have recorded people in the locker room, you know. Anyway, moving on.
Mm,
Soloist Griffin was found backstage, not recording people, but having been attacked by Tony D. This led to
oh
Dion Lennox going
man.
to the ring to call him for a fight. Tony D addressed him from the stands and said Darkseid tried to end his career, but all they did was make him more dangerous. Lennox said he would wait for Tony in the parking lot on Saturday, rather than using the other couple of members to just beat Tony D down. Tony has taken no punishment whatsoever from Dark State. It's
So
crazy.
funny. That's him. You know what's funny too? Him saying that in the pro made me think about what we said about Osprey and how like man, Moxley's a face now, and Osprey is is bringing up old stuff that I forgot about, and I was like, Tony D, you sure they took you out? Because I don't remember. I don't. Dark State is so not memorable to me that I'm not mad that you beat them down. Fine, I don't care that you beating them up, but you
Yeah,
sure they took you?
you're the only
I
one who
think you
remembers
making
it. You know what I mean? Like,
that.
yeah.
I think you making that part up, but yeah, no. Again, that's one part I will say has been entertaining. Watching him kind of just one man team. It reminded me of the old Austin days because Austin used to just it'd be people who targeted Austin. He would just devour them one beat down and would never see him again. They'll never have a problem with Austin again after that. So that's an interesting little tidbit there. But it is what it is. Man, Dark State. Yeah, but this was fine, parking lot brawl. So we'll see how that goes.
It always ends well in NXT. The NXT Women's Championship was online. JC Jane versus Aria. This was a pretty competitive match, but the outcome was far too easy to see. Both women being heels now. The crowd didn't seem to have a favourite. Yeah, all right. Soul showed up and hit Soul Snatcher to both women at once to cause the ref to call off the match. Again, we knew even the fans, even at the start of the match, were
Predictable.
looking. You know, like.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Very predictable. Like it just didn't make no sense. Unless they were gonna give us a storyline reason why Soul went there or something,
Yeah,
or kick her out there earlier. She still would have showed up. Even if they kicked her out earlier, the show would be like, yeah, well, she'll be back. So yeah,
yeah,
we
it
knew it
was
was
weird.
coming. It did what it needed to do, I guess.
It
And
only
Soul
got
stands.
worse. it got worse than that though. The show ended with Ricky Saints' experience, which was Saints holding a concert, just like Joe Hendry.
Mm,
But unlike Joe, he clearly didn't know how to play the guitar or even sing. He kept finding
man,
excuses not to continue his song. Hendry showed up and hit with a guitar. Miles made the save when the Vanity Project attacked. But
for
this
some
got
reason,
shit on hard. Yeah, I don't know, fuck that. But I mean, this got shit on hard, man. Like, I saw the reactions to it, and people like compare it to the Rock and stuff. It's like, have you never seen Ricky Saints before? You know what I mean? That
yeah,
was well,
he was
I didn't
trolling.
think.
First of
Yeah,
all, like I don't. I think that's just that one of those things about the whole. And this is what happens when you compare somebody to The Rock. And again, I'm not trying to make it a race thing because I don't necessarily think it matters that he's black. But like, since Ricky is that and he dresses the way he dresses, like he's obviously inspired by The Rock, but he's not trying to do the Rock concert here. He's making a mockery of what Joe Hendry does. Which again, I get it. All of it is an offshoot of The Rock, but I don't know exactly what you came into that promo expecting. I loved it. I didn't think it was like awesome. I didn't think it was the greatest thing ever, but I thought because I kind of knew it was a troll job, and Ricky has never showcased that he was a singer or had musical talent of the day. I knew he was making fun of Hendry, in my opinion. So I don't understand I don't understand the negativity or like I don't even understand why we comparing it to the Rock's concert. It's not that. It was not meant to be that. But anyway, again, I can understand if you came into that maybe with that expectation. And again, that's what I always say about this whole comparison stuff. It's just like let Ricky be Ricky. Like, is he inspired by him? Sure. Same thing like LA Knight, and they try to say, oh, he speaks like this guy and that guy. He speaks like The Rock, he speaks like Austin. Let LA Knight LA Knight. Is he
yeah.
inspired? Is he kind of taking something we've seen before? Sure. But like, let these new guys create something. They're not trying to be better than what you've seen before. That's dumb. So again, I think he was mostly mimicking. He's mostly mimicking and making a mockery out of what Joe does, not
Mm.
more so than he was trying to do the Wayne concert type thing. Again, we know that's a completely different type of level. Nobody dares to do that either. Like even people when they feud with The Rock don't go that route. So I mean, like I don't. Again, I think the only time that anybody ever even remotely did it, and even then they knew. Like, no, let's let John Cena just do his freestyle stuff and keep him away from the guitar and all that.
Mm.
Nobody's actually trying to mimic that. So I don't understand that comparison, but again, it is what it is. I'm not necessarily too bent out of shape about it. I was more bent out of shape about how easily Joe Hendry disposed of him. But when you think about the fool Ricky was kind of making of himself, it's just like, okay, I guess it's
Mm.
fair.
But and the thing is as well with when it comes to Ricky, is he's one of the few people that have turned heel recent times that have actually become more unlikable, and it's because of stuff like this, like the
hmm
concert and like it's disingenuous and just people aren't
Right.
cheering him. He's very unlikable.
He's being a
He's an
real
unlikable chap.
heel.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the problem with that, or like why some people seem to have such an issue with him kind of channeling it. Because again, I really appreciate like him being a real heel, like that he's really been arrogant. He's really trying to make Hendry and like he's not trying to give you anything cool. And again,
Mm,
we know, and that's another thing. That's another element of the Rock concert that he kind of had. Was that he was trying to make you laugh, whether you want. He was trying to make you laugh at even if he was a babyface opponent, he was trying to make you laugh at him. That's not Ricky's, like you said, intentions. He's trying to annoy you. He don't want you to like it. So, yeah, man, I agree 100%. It's very very funny to me how like we in this weird thing with fans. I think some fans want you to be a bad guy, but they don't like when you
yeah,
really are a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's very
yeah.
very weird to me. They want you to be cool. They want you to be like Rick Williams is kind of mastering right now. But you see the reactions you get. Hell, even in the main event scene with Randy Orton, like Randy Orton is doing everything he can to try to make people remember how bad he is, and it's not working. They're cheering like a mug because they want you. They still love Rand. They want you to be cool. And it's like once you get to that part, people don't understand. You're making it harder on the character because what we really want, we want you to think we're despicable. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, or like you mentioned the difference between Swerve and Max. Like we
Yeah.
want, like yeah, we want to not like you, not that it's oh we such a lovable, hateful guy. Like no, we don't want that.
But they're saying I don't know what wrestler said it. I apologize for remembering, but they were saying basically like it's because of obviously we had COVID and that stopped the fans. So when the fans then came back, they were just happy to be there. So they were kind of
Hmm.
like the Cody babyface run and booing the hills. And now after 5 6 years, it's kind of they've gone
Yeah,
back to the kind of the way they were before. Like I said, they want a cool heel. They'll boo the faces and again I don't know what the solution is. With NXT, it's quite a small crowd, and again, it's not saying it's hand picked or whatever. Do you know what I mean? There's a
yeah,
kind of the solution. You can't. But then again, I think there's other ways, and I think it's a bigger conversation that the one of I want to have at WrestleMania is about crowd reactions to certain wrestlers and why they don't do anything about it. Do you know what I mean? So again,
yeah.
it's just one of those things. But yeah, it's annoying because it's even with Daria and Sol Ruka. That again, we talk about
Oh
with
yeah, we'll get
NXT.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my
we'll but
goodness.
again, well, we've got to stop
But
off at
that's
Impact.
booking in my opinion. But we'll talk
Yeah,
about it. We'll talk
we got
about
to stop off him Impact quickly because March 5th, the TNA Knockouts World Champion Ariana Grace, I cannot believe I'm saying that, defeated Jodie
it.
Fret. And the X Division title, Leon Slater beat Nick Nemeth in a great match. And Slater is the third longest X Division champion, just I think past Amazing Red. Hardys are second all time on the tag team list. Now, Monty, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but could you guess who's number one tag longest reign in TNA? I know you probably, I don't know. I don't know if you know or no. It's just strange.
Longest tag team. Also, if it's
Mm.
strange, dang.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
I was gonna
maybe,
say
yeah.
something that wouldn't be strange. So never
Mm.
mind. Oh man.
But it might not be too, but it's more recent than it is,
Oh,
you
okay.
know what I
No,
mean? Like classic
I'm
era.
probably definitely screwed. I'm definitely screwed then because I thought beer money. I said machine, Motor City Machine Guns and beer money. No, who you got? Who you got? You let me
It's
know.
it is the North, which is Josh Alexander and
Oh,
All
okay.
Ego Ethan Page. So Ethan Page still holds an
Cool.
Impact record, which I thought was quite cool, you know?
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So that's crazy. All of that, all those Eddie Edwards matches I was watching, and he never was the him and that other guy Davey was never the
Yeah,
same.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Davey Richard, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I thought, I think the Hardys will beat that. Well, again, I've not seen
They probably will.
Sacrifice. We'll catch it on the next update, obviously, but Anyway, from March 7th, we've got Vengeance Day kickoff. Why did this need to be an hour? At least Impact have half-hour ones. You know what I mean? Come on. Mega Morant, Sam Robertsburg in the studio. We got to sit down with Blake Monroe. She didn't say anything new. We got to sit down with Kalani. She said she and Lola are tethered together. They were friends until she was kicked out of the locker room by Lola. I don't want to watch classic Vengeance Day clips. I want to watch the fucking 2026 version. Leave played Tatum and Izzy segment from NXT. Lola sit down. She says she kicked Jordan out because she's not loyal, says the woman who wrestles in AAA. And they have addressed it, but I'm still not happy. The biggest thing is that Lola says Kalani is not mellow, which again is like, ooh, behind the
Okay.
curtain, ooh, total divas.
Right. Right. So we just so she can't say you ain't Damian Priest or whatever. Huh? What are you talking about? Whatever. Go ahead. All of y'all date, dog. What are you doing? What are we doing? We know what
Uh,
NXT. We know NXT is Love Island.
yeah, they're rabbits, man. And Lola said the hand is not the issue. The main show started with a street fight, which is Blake Monroe versus Jada Parker, and they took the fight out of the ring within the first couple of minutes. Parker tried to set up a table, but Monroe took out of her with an umbrella, and then put the table away and started filling the ring with chairs. Both women took some painful looking shots from various weapons, but it seemed like Parker took a little bit more damage while the Glamour was in control. And Monroe was able to get the win with a DDT on a pile of fake diamonds. Monty, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, that was a nice. It was a nice little twist, man. Nice little brutal spot to end it off, in my opinion. There. This is the best. This is one of the best matches I think they kind of had. And I think it's pretty good that they kind of. I think it's kind of good how they use this. Uh, I think they use this match. I think they use this match properly for the story they're trying to tell. I mean, I think you kind of want most likely the last encounter to end up with a nice little bow on top, and I think that finish and again, I thought they killed it. Apparently, I think Blake is kind of getting her feet. I think she's getting comfortable, and I think they're kind of utilizing her history. Now, again, we know it's never going to be as like crazy as her peak in AEW was because they won't necessarily allow her to bleed or do some of that stuff. But I'm noticing that we know Mariah can be violent, then they're trying to give her like a WWE flair of violence. You know what I mean? It's like, won't you
Yeah.
still be violent, but
Yeah.
you gotta do
But
it in
it's
our
glitter.
way.
Throw glitter in her face rather than glass. Just do.
Exactly. Yeah, like we gotta censor it, somehow. So, again, and if you got a problem with that, I can understand it because if you got like a penchant for like what she used to do, I get that too. So it kind of all depends, but on what you're into from her. But I think she's kind of finding her own here, getting in her groove. Because I do think they did a little bit of the Jordan Grace, a little bit of the we know you built your name up outside, and they didn't fast track her like I think somebody like her deserves. Like in my opinion, she is by far the most proven I do think of course, you got some people who have built up and built themselves up nicely in NXT, but like because of where we are with Jason James being on top and stuff like that, you can't tell me that what Mariah May has already showcased to us that she shouldn't already be like. Just when you think about this roster, you look at the list, you're like, oh yeah, Mariah May is our champion most likely, right? And then you look at
Mm.
it, it's like, oh no, she's not. She's kind of been slowed down and not necessarily fast tracked to that position. And again, I don't really necessarily have a problem with it because I do think for the most part everything she's been doing has been compelling. But they are taking their time. Maybe this year will be that year, like going into this post WrestleMania year will be the year that we could get more out of her in NXT if she's gonna stick around. Because again, they can fast track her if they want to. I think we know what she's capable of. But if they decide not to, I thought this was cool. Again, I thought also again Jada once again another pretty big match showcased some talent that I think again that can be utilized in spots. She's improved in a lot of ways, and I just think again that diamond spot and a little bit of the brutality here did a really good job of capping off their kind of competitive feud. And you got to think about it, they gave you this quality, and it wasn't even like stakes. And I think the only thing that could have made this better is if we had like some stakes to kind of explain why they're beating the hell out of each other like they were. But I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, without a doubt. There was a strong way to start. I mean, NXT has had a lot of home shows recently, so I was surprised. But then again, ironically, I'm going to complain that they're doing the away shows soon. Strong way to start, like we
Mm-hmm.
said. We don't need the women's title defended because of how strong the women's division is. But like I said, maybe yeah, I don't know. I'm not introducing more championships. Monroe used an umbrella because she's British, and like you said, Parker didn't look out
Okay.
of place. Blake can get hardcore with the best of them. And my only thing was that a tattoo on Parker's leg or a bit of string. I wasn't sure. It only bugged me for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I kind of paid attention. And another one, I think it's Jackson Drake. Is that a tattoo or is that just like a pen line? I don't know, but I'm getting into it. Monty, what would you score this out of five? Because it was, like I said, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I gave it 3 3/4. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I overshot that. I gave it 4.5, man. I mean, I need something good for NXT. I'll take anything.
I get
Prediction,
it.
the WNR Prediction League after Chamber and Revolution before Vengeance Day, Dynasty, and Mania. Oh my God, we got so much. WWE, Gina, James, and Jackson on one, Monty on zero. AEW, Monty, Gina on one, James, Jackson zero. Bonus. Well, Jackson on five, Monty on seven, Gina on eight, I'm on nine. Jaxie went Jada, the rest went Monroe. So it's Jaxie zero, the rest are on one. Ricky Saints told Ethan Page he has to help him in the main event. All Ego didn't seem so sure, but he said
I don't
he
know
will
why.
be there. Yeah, no, I'm sure it'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, yeah.
We got Dion Lennox versus Tony D'Angelo next. And Lennox was waiting for Tony D in the parking lot, like he said, with the rest of Dark State. Tony had someone else drive his car so he could jump Lennox from behind with a crowbar. After a short brawl in the parking lot, Tony was able to lock everyone out with a garage door. It's just that one door is the entrance to the building. Do you know what I mean? You can't get in anywhere else. Once you've done that garage door, you're fucked, mate. All right. The rest of Dark State did find a way inside somehow, but Tony D fought them off, and they were beating each other all over the backstage area, even though it was supposed to be a standard match that hadn't technically started yet. D'Angelo got some backup from OTM to fight off the rest of Dark State. They crashed through a wall into the arena. And the match finally got started once both men entered the ring. Both men had a few close calls, but Tony was able to score the victory with a huge spine buster. Monty, I don't know about the match, but we need to speak to health and safety. They have to do something about that wall. It is just not safe.
Yeah, I know they're tired of dealing with it. I know they're tired of, but they got to be tired of fixing it or whatever because at this point, every single, like, especially if it's going to be a brawl or if it's going to be like a match like this, we are getting some type of spot outside of that wall. So it's very interesting that again, this was good. I love the way it started off. Like it really gave an energy. I wonder if they would have. I wonder. You know what? It's probably best if they didn't, because maybe it would have took off some of the luster of what the ladies did. But I do wonder because of the energy that this match started with. Could they have or should they have considered starting this match? First, because it is of the parking lot brawl type, parking lot brawl style, and because it is who it is in the ring, like I just wonder if it would have benefited of like having that energy earlier into like because it started off so, it just started off very very rowdy in my opinion, but it was still a good match. Don't get me wrong. I thought they did a good job. I mean, the backstage brawl part with the security and OTM, even though as much as I'm not really invested in their association, uh, in like I'm not really invested in them or in Dark State. I did think them kind of jumping in and kind of making it a street fight when they did, and the moments I thought was great. I thought they had some good table spots, and again they was trying to for something that could have been on it, like for something that could have been like run of the mill, like this could have just been another run of the mill brawl that we've seen plenty of times, especially back in the hardcore era of the late '90s and stuff. It could have been sloppy as some of those. They did a really good job of like, even if you can look back and be like, oh, this is definitely very produced and blah blah blah. They did a good job, in my opinion, of being creative with this concept that they could have just kind of phoned it in on if you really think about it. So I give them props for that. And I did come away from this like solidly looking at, okay, all right, that's probably the first time I watched a Dion Lennox match or a Dark State involved match to where, when I was like that, I enjoyed it. So I came away from it looking at it. It was short, didn't overstay its weapon. Well, I mean, welcome, and then it did a good job, in my opinion, of trying to do something a little creative with that match concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's my notes. Dark State are pretty fucking useless, aren't they? Let's not lie
They
about
are.
that. Um, fans do seem to be behind Tony. And this PLE could have been called Extreme Rules, I reckon, with
Yep.
everything that was going on. And what the fuck
Mhm.
happened to Luca Crucifino? Wouldn't this have been a great time for him to come back to help his old mate? But I guess he's, what,
You'll
it's
see
not
what
looking
he's
good for
been doing,
Luca.
right?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't even remember what she was called. I do apologise with Luke Crucifino. I honestly cannot remember. Otherwise, I would say what happened to her. I think she got kidnapped last time or
Oh,
something like that.
Roundriana Rizzo. You mean Rizzo?
Rizzo, that's it. There
Yeah,
we
yeah,
go,
yeah.
Rizzo.
That now
Yeah,
that's actually the family member I started to not to, I didn't hate her or I didn't detest her like
yeah.
the rest of the family. So I actually got a kick out of her and her accent. She's injured though. She's injured.
Oh,
She
right,
shot
good, good.
tore
Oh, not good.
ACL
Yeah,
after
not
she
good
got
that she's
kidnapped.
injured. Right, okay. I'm not saying it's
Right,
good that
right.
she's injured. I'm saying it's good that she's not doing a Luca. Tony
Whatever
D is
happened
the
to got kidnapped, tore her ACL. That's the
yeah.
story.
Tony D definitely grew his hair. He looks a bit like the old Juice Robinson now, which is quite funny.
Yes, he does.
Um,
Yes, he does.
And as you said, the announce table spot was good. And I'm glad another wrestler is using a spear. Doesn't get used enough in wrestling. I was thinking that
Yeah,
or a super kick, one or
forgotten,
the other.
very underutilized move. I've been wondering why. I think it should be used a lot more than it is, man. So
Yeah,
very very happy that another youngster is bringing it back.
it's good.
Ah,
Uh,
we missed it.
what would you score out of five?
I give this also a 3 3/4.
I'm going to give it a four. Predictions all went Tony, so Jackson won, the rest on two. The Women's North American Championship was on the line when friends turned enemies. Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley stepped into the ring. Sean Spears and Nico Vance accompanied champion to the ring. Paxley took control almost immediately, took the fight out of the ring. She took Dame down with Roland senton from the steps, but she ended up being driven into the same steps a moment later. Once they got back in the ring, Dame was the one controlling the pace. Paxley with a short burst of offense, but the champ kept finding ways to put her down. After almost losing several times, Paxley prevailed when she hit a finisher for the pin to become your new North American champion. The way the match ended probably was the best part. Monty, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, man, this is cool, man. I thought the atmosphere was great. Like you can tell the fans, like I can say what I want about not really caring about the betrayal kind of angle that I kind of saw coming when it comes between Tatum and Easy. Mostly because as much as invested as I am in Tatum, even when she kind of started to hang out with those weirdos that hang out with Sean Spears, that I knew that it was going to be like, okay, yeah, I kind of could see where we're going with this. But I get it. They're kind of trying to tell a whole, a person who don't fit in, thought they found somewhere to fit in, and then they realize they're being used type angle. So I get that could be way more relatable or way more of a thing for more people. And obviously those people were in the arena because you could tell they were really into this match. They were really dramatic. And again, I think one of the underrated things about young wrestlers, like with a person like Izzy Dane, who I think who is improving, and the reason why I say she's improving is because I didn't think they did anything insane or like super crazy in this match. Like again, the ending with Tatum, the way the finish was amazing to me, with her kind of cartwheeling out of the thing and doing her thing. That was amazing. But what I will give them is that they had those people in there invested in every little twist and turn. Like when the little false finish before we got to the actual finish, where it looked like Tatum had lost, they were dead silent. Like the air in the room was gonna kind of seep out of there, like with the way they kind of the crowd felt about it. But then once she kicked out surprisingly, and she ended up pulling it off. The way they kind of erupted and the happiness was there, and it's just like what, that is the sign that they, whether everybody was along for the ride for the entire story, at the very least, they had those people, exactly where you wanted them for this story in this match. It was a satisfying result. I will say that, again, that you can kind of look at the code breaker backflip thing as kind of like, you depend on how dramatic you want to be about that. But I thought it was a cool little spot. I don't know how you can explain how the code breaker didn't affect her or whatever, or like I don't see how, or the lung blower or whatever. I don't see how you can act like it didn't affect her enough to where she can just slip out of it. But again, sometimes you gotta lose your logic and just let shit be cool. And I think that's what it was. I think honestly, this may have went under the radar because neither one of these girls. I mean, Tatum is getting there, but neither one of these girls have kind of established themselves as just like workers and like more and like they don't have those fandoms quite yet. But I think this is a match that if you really look back, I was like, all right, I was impressed, and maybe that's why my score was a little higher because I was so impressed with what they did here. But I thought this was a satisfying match, a good little end to this story for now. And again, uh, shout out to both of them. Shout out to Easy for like fine. And this is the first time, in my opinion, I think Easy has kind of looked like she was there, like speed wise and
Mm.
all that. She just looked like she was on point. And Tatum, in my opinion, has kind of been slowing herself down to kind of tell these stories. Because if you ask me, we kind of saw peaks of what she could do physically a while ago. So it's good to see her become a champion again, and we'll see what actually becomes of this run if they kind of let her stick with it and tell more stories. But again, Tatum is up there in that tier, that high tier that I look at in the women's division or NXT, who I think highly of her at this point, and I thought this was a good showing.
Yeah, without a doubt. I wondered if it should have been like a cinematic match to help Izzy, but I wondered why it was just a normal match as well. But again, the
Yeah,
feud, as
should
we
have
talk
been
about,
something.
and finish. Tatum is now an exclusive club as NXT and North American champion. I'm not sure who else is in that club because the North American title hasn't been around for a while. You know what I mean? Or in my mind, it has been around, but I'm not sure. She might be the only one, but again, not many can say that. For as
Right.
bad as Dark State are, the Culling are far worse. You know.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and interestingly, so of course we talk about Impact as well. Rosemary, if you know her from Impact, has
Hmm.
been talking about Tatum, and she said that she absolutely adored her, talking about the genuine enthusiasm that was there, and talking about what a wonderful following, and to allow her to be an alternate character and to show the kind of love for what she is and her true self on television. She said 10 years ago, someone like her in a mid card act, never a champion because she was a weird kid. Well, she is now. And, you know, she said there's so
Yep.
many countless others that can do this. In September 2024, Rosemary and Paxley did face off. And you can, if you do know Rosemary, see the similarities with Tatum. And I think, like I said, Rosemary said it best that that character wouldn't have worked so well, you know?
Oh no, she wouldn't have been taken seriously. We've seen it in different incarnations. It was yeah, she wouldn't have been received as well. And like I said, that's kind of what I meant by the crowd's reaction to this match and a lot of the reactions to her winning. You can just tell like she got kind of like something unique there that a lot of other women who wrestle don't necessarily. So like they don't tick that box. Like even Rhea Ripley has kind of leaned into like not leaned into it, but like kind of spoke to those people. The outcast in a sense,
Mm.
but Rhea Ripley is an anomaly in general, just in a lot of ways. So like she may have fit that description in a sense. At the same time, she Rhea Ripley. It's like so Tatum is like fitting an entirely different mold. I 100% agree with Rosemary about her like probably not being as anywhere near as popular or whether she's popular or not. She probably would have had who she probably had great fans who loved her, but she probably wouldn't have been showcased enough or in this way at all. So I think she has a chance to be a really special character for a lot of fans out there for years to come if WWE, play their cards right and they treat her properly because I do think she has something unique, which is you don't really get a lot of it. We talk about, we've seen the people in NXT, but like somebody who home, we've seen other people who come from outside NXT come in and they were unique, then they get fast tracked. But from homegrown talent to kind of develop, we watched her all the way from the beginning develop into who she is now and be able to tell these stories right now. Again, I think we will be hearing if everything works out, we'll be hearing Tatum Paxley, name in this business for years to come.
Yeah, without a doubt. So out of five, then what would you give it?
I gave it a 4 and a quarter. I was into it.
Four and a quarter. I gave it 3.95. Predictions. Gina went Izzy. The rest went Tatum. So it means Jackson and Gina on two. Monty and James are on three. OTM want the gold. Good for them. JC Jane and Fatal Influence came up for a promo. Zaria came out and said she deserves a rematch. Sol Ruka joined them and said she's next in line. Robert Stone booked a triple threat for a week from Tuesday. Fatal Influence left them both laying. JC is the longest reigning transitional champion in NXT history. But the problem was, this made it feel like an episode of NXT. You know, and I know we were in a performance center and stuff like that, but it just took me out of it. I want to enjoy PLE for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I hated this. I hated this. I was like, man, just give me Zaria and Soul now, DNO. Just give me something now. Like, what are we doing? Why are we talking about this? Why is the women's champion on a PLE and not even fighting
Mm.
a championship match when we got three women's matches on the card and not one of them is the women's. It's like, what are we doing, bro? The women's champion doing a promo in the middle of the show. Like, yeah, I thought it was a very big waste of time because we didn't really need any of that. We could have had that open up the next episode of the NXT.
Yeah.
or something like that, and still do something. Or we could have made that match last week. I don't know why we had to waste our time doing it now.
No, it's annoying. The birthright asked Dempsey if he's in, and when is he going to stop running away from who he is. Tavian Heights wants a tag match. I didn't recognize him with different hair. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I go, I'm sure I know him, and oh yeah, no, he's just got
Yeah.
his hair back. All right, okay, yeah, that's and again, the amount of wrestlers that come through, fuck knows. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's someone new. Kalani Jordan versus Load of Vice was up next in an underground. The lightning for this match was terrible. We understand that WWE wanted to give the stipulation a different feel, but when it's hard for me to actually see what's going on, then we have a problem. But Vice kept taking Jordan down and attempting submissions, but Lani kept finding ways to counter and focus on Lola's injured hand, thanks to Shayna Baszler's training. She used the ring post to inflict some extra damage. Both women did their best and each had a couple of stand-up moments. Vice ended up scoring a vicious TKO victory to bring this to a close. And Monty, say, well, I mean, I don't like kind of MMA in wrestling, but I mean, Lola Vices, it was a follow-up shot on fucking Kalani. Definitely contact, definitely contact there.
Yeah, but you kind of have to, and I think it fits too. It fits everything they've been talking about to each other and all of that because they've been talking a really big game and like being kind of very disrespectful to each other. So I think that was really good too. But like you kind of have to. I know it sounds crazy or it may come off that way, but you kind of have to be a little bit physical because that's the one thing I give Lola Vice for a match type that I ever never really thought could take could catch on and actually just become a regular NXT or just a regular match type. I gotta give them props for making Lola Vice's underground matches at least fun. This wasn't even that long. This was like a little over 6 to 6, almost 7 minutes or something. So it wasn't crazy. Didn't take a lot of time, but they did do a good job of injecting some fun. I'm with you. It's usually very clunky, but I do think they've kind of found a place, even if it's just for Lola Vice matches. They found a way to kind of make them at least something to watch. And it did have enough good little moments into where I was like, okay, this is fine, but yeah, Kalani had to take a shot, and again, I thought it was really well done, and I think if you're gonna do this match, you kind of have to let them be a little bit physical with each other, and because that's the whole point. So it's hard to simulate MMA without doing some type of what I mean. You're gonna
Punching
have
him
to
in
do
the
some
face. Yeah,
damage,
exactly. Yeah, you got to leave a
right?
mark, haven't you? Yeah.
Right.
And like you said, I mean, Lola Vice is 4-0 in Underground now, so that is her match. But Jordan did look good, as we said. Both are ready for call-ups. I mean, there could be another women's title NXT, and it really wouldn't feel out of place. I don't know. I mean, speed is not the answer, but do you know what I mean? Like that's how much. Maybe just I don't know. Don't take the men's North America title away, but can we get rid of the speed championships and get like a women's US title or something? I don't know. You know?
Yeah, I don't know either, but yeah, we have enough. We have more than enough to do something with them in that regard. Especially, but again, I don't know. Like you said, we got at least like 3, 4 women because you throw Saul in there too. We got like 4 women, 4 or 5 women that are at a state to where it's like if they got called up in the next 6 months, would we be surprised? Or if
Mm.
they stayed to be in NXT another year and be champion or something, would you be surprised? Like that's where we are. So it is tough. It's amazing, in my opinion, that some of these women have been here so long. And we've had JC Jane running with the belt this long. So
I don't
I
know.
I don't know, man, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. But I don't know. I have no clue. It'd be nice to get another something for a lot of these other feuds to battle over. But a women's heritage cup. I don't know. Do something.
Yeah, it's the same. It's like Lola's dad did take his moment, which it's always good. You're on camera, buddy. We knew that. So out of
I'm
five
so
of them,
proud.
he is proud of his daughter. Out of five, what would you give it?
I gave it a 3.5.
I gave it a 4, so I must like women punching each other in the face. Predictions all went Lola. So Jackson Jr. on 3, James and Monty on 4. And the main event of Vengeance Day saw Joe Hendry defend the NXT Championship against Ricky Saints. The champ had the size advantage and he made sure to use it as he took control early and started running Saints from corner to corner and chopping him until his chest was red. Ethan Page came out and stared at the NXT Championship. He slid it into the ring, but he pushed it too far, so both men ended up getting their hands on it. The ref took it away, and while his back was turned, Ricky hit a low blow followed by a finisher for a close 2 count. Hendry got some payback when he hit a low blow behind the referee's back. This allowed him to hit the standing ovation for the pin and retain his NXT Championship. And see what your thoughts. Look, I'm not sure either have had a classic in their careers. I don't know if that's fair to say. Well, I don't know what your thoughts about this match was.
Man, that just made me want to think, especially for Ricky, because I'm sure something he's done has been like, but yeah, classic might be a little strong, but I'm pretty sure he's had definitely some really good ones. But yeah, yeah, there was something about this match that just didn't really work for me. I don't know if it was, I don't know, but yeah, the low blow from Joe, I don't know why I didn't like it. Whether not that I was mad at it because I get it, like it's a return the favor type deal, but it was just one of them things where it was like, did Joe really need to do that? Or maybe, or like, are y'all working too hard to try to keep Ricky in the picture? Because Ricky has lost a lot, and I do think that plays a little bit of a factor in that Ricky does. Ricky is still, in my opinion, even as a heel now, trying to fight upwards from like a more of a losing position. So I wonder if that had a place why I didn't really care as much for this. Uh, I thought it had good points, and I thought it had bad points. You know what I'm saying? Uh, the stakes were high. Uh, it has like some moments that it just wasn't really uh like just the strongest in my opinion, but I think Joe is fine. I'm not really the hugest fan of a lot of his work, or I'm not gonna say I'm not a fan of it. It's just I haven't really seen, like you said. I think Joe is always consistent, so you kind of know what you're gonna expect from him. And I think Ricky is the type of wrestler that if you put him in there with somebody who's gonna push something out of him, you might be able to get a higher level than this. Versus if you get them in there with Joe, they're just gonna go in there and be what they are, which is good, not great. You know what I mean? Not bad,
Hmm.
but good. And I think it's fine. I don't have a problem. But when you're in the main event, it's supposed to be a PLE. This is supposed to be the big title. I don't know if good can come kick it. I don't know if good can kick it. Now, the Ethan Page moment was funny to me, but also frustrating in a sense, but funny. But like, because I did chuckle at it, and so that's the one thing I give them. At least they made me laugh with that moment. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. Again, I don't want to say it was an average match. I just think it was main event worthy is the question. And I don't know how you feel about that. Was it main event
Hmm.
worthy would be the thing I would ask, but it was fine.
Yeah. It's weird. 'Cause, I mean, I do like Joe as champion, like I said, but it did feel like an independent AEW talent wrestling an independent TNA talent trying to do
Hmm.
a WWE style. And I don't know if that held them back. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure Joe, as I've seen, Mike Santana and stuff like that, he can deliver in the ring. But like you said, it just felt like an episode of NXT as opposed
Hmm.
to a take. Remember the days of Takeover, for fuck's sake. We were coming out with 5-star matches. I mean, I was wondering if Tony D versus Joe is a stand and deliver worthy match, or would it be a multi man? I'm sure that would get answered for me
Yeah.
a little bit later. But I just think, yeah, after Saints and Joe, I was like, I don't know if Hendry and Tony D will make me buy a ticket for stand and deliver, and that's no offense. You
Hmm.
know how much I love Joe Hendry. And like you said,
Yeah.
there's not much more for Ricky to do, you know. Again, Booker was a delight on commentary, and we need to talk to Vic about his stone puns because I'm getting sick of him already. So what was your score for the main event?
Yeah, I gave it a 3 and 3/4. Like, yeah, I didn't think it was like bad. but I did think it was great. I agree with you about it just kind of feeling like an NXT main event level match. And again, that's not horrible, but at the same time, it's one of those situations where you just be like, okay, that was fine. I don't think that's what you want leaving a pay per view. You don't want to just be like that was fine. But yeah, man, that's it. That's kind of like how I felt about it. I didn't think it was bad, but I also just wasn't really over the moon with it.
Mm. Yeah, no, I'm going to give it 4 1/4. Predictions. Gina went for Ricky. The rest went Joe. So final scores Gina
Of
on
course,
3,
dude.
Jackson on 4, James and Monty, the NXT experts, on 5. So a point for a win and a perfect score. A good day to you,
Would
sir.
you
Well
look at
done.
that? Would you look at that? Watching all this drunk does matter. Wow.
uh,
Uh, what I was like, that was another thing too. Oh yeah, we now back to your Tony D thing question. I wonder too about this match. Not more before I even get to Tony D. I wonder about this match. Are they both? Did we run into a scenario where both guys are kind of like in their range, where it's like if you put them in the ring with certain people or they wrestle a certain style, you can get the best out of them. But if you know what I mean, like they
mm.
both need that engine to get them to that possible special match level. If you see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, right down. So the prediction league 2026 after that, after Chamber, Revolution, and Vengeance Day before Stand Deliver, Dynasty and Mania. That sounds crazy. Who would do that? You know, we are. WWE, as we know in the AEW, but the bonus. Well, Jaxie's on 5, Gina on 8, Monty jumps to 9 now, and I am on 11. So you're making your cut. Started the year a little bit sluggish, and I started on 5, baby. And again, I think it all goes towards WrestleMania. You know, all roads lead to Mania.
Lord,
Anyway,
and that card. Good luck predicting that right now. Anyway,
oh, good. No, it's not good. I just want to get an AEW win. I hope I win Dynasty. It took me fucking what till September last year, so we'll see what happens.
yeah.
Overall, Vengeance Day. I mean, the women carried this event, didn't they? And it could have easily
hmm
been a main event of JC Jane versus Soul and Zaria, which is probably the hottest story in NXT as well. You know,
hmm
I think that just tells us. Um, I moaned about the hour kickoff because it's 2 hours on rewatch on Netflix. 2 hours. It just shows you how many adverts and stuff like that must be on there. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
hmm
It is a bit crazy. It was a solid show, you know, but barring Tatum winning, probably wasn't needed, or probably was needed about a month ago. You know, like we,
Yeah.
we,
Oh man,
we've
preach.
we've had stuff. You know, maybe a ladder match could have main evented it. I don't know. So what's your score out of 10? Your MVP and your match of the night?
That's a great point. I probably rather this card if the ladder match that Joe won was the main event of this match, and maybe it would have felt like we accomplished more. But so at 7.5 is probably what I get it. Like you mentioned, solid show. Like it was like a regular episode of NXT with a little bit of a PLE bonus. And again, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like it felt like a good episode of NXT with like a good match version of episode of NXT with PLE, sprinkled in, like a PLE energy kind of sprinkled in for the Tatum match. That's why that match is my match of the night. So I give it 7.5, and MVP is Tatum Paxton for me.
Yeah, my MVP is Tatum as well. And my match of the night is Blake. I put Blake versus Monroe, but I meant Parker versus Monroe. I'm sure I'll know what that means when I look it back at the end of the year. Um, And that's it for Vengeance Day. So we move on to NXT, like we said, March 10th. And we got a recap of Vengeance Day, and the new Women's North American Champion arrived. Tatum says for the longest time she felt like she had been doing this all wrong, and it became all clear on Saturday. Tatum says the pain and hurt was worth it. She won the title for us. Izzy Damon interrupts and she congratulates Tatum and said it must have been the greatest day of her life. Izzy then says everyone will find out what she knows. Tatum will always be the girl desperately trying to fit in. Izzy kicks Tatum and hits a Dr. Bomb after Spears and Nico distract her. And Izzy holds the title belt up. Haven't we just done this?
I hated
Did,
this, by the
did,
way.
did we just
Yeah,
do this?
I hated this because the reason why I scored the match so high is because it felt like a cathartic. It felt like an end of the story, and they literally was just like, "Well, we don't have much else to do right now, so let's just, like you said, let's just go back a couple weeks to the point to where you would, if you weren't paying attention, we would be. If I didn't know what happened, we would be confused on what, like you said, did we just go back a couple updates? Like, yeah, I hated this. Like, this just it made me so mad. Not because we're continuing it. It's like you're not only continuing something that I thought was over. We're gonna do it in the most least interesting, least creative way possible. We're gonna do it exactly like we've done it before. Yeah, that'll get them. Like, oh, this was so
Yeah.
stupid.
That'll serve us right for watching NXT week in, week out. Uh, we then see Ricky Saints asking Ethan Page what happened on Saturday. Ricky says they need to have gold. Ethan says the last 2 weeks have sucked for him. Ricky then says tonight, when they win, they're back in line for the titles. Ethan says every dynasty has a slump. And then we got a triple threat match, Jasper Troy versus Eli Knight versus Sean Legacy. Troy was on the floor, so Kiana Carver attacked him with a forearm to the back. Carver picked up Troy and gave him a choke slam through the commentary table. Legacy hit a sliced bread net break on Troy, but he got back in the ring and performed a 450 splash. Knight delivered an impressive moonsault off the top rope, and they both pinned Troy simultaneously, well, resulting in a double pin. And it was announced as a double pin with two winners. I mean, so the speed title wasn't on the line, and Legacy and Knight looked like a tag team anyway with the same coloured fucking gear. I hate that. I hate that. Why? Why?
You really do. You
Oh
really hate
man.
it. I remember when I forgot who was feuding. I think it was a real ripping feud with somebody, or I think it was with Liv. But they just kept matches, and you
Oh
was
god.
annoyed. They were matching every feud. It was great, but yeah, I this was fine. I think I was kind of I knew it wasn't for the speed title because it was much longer, but then I just ended up being like not disappointed, but it was just like okay, this was just okay, this is fine, but why are we doing this? It was good to see. Again, I think Eli showing flashes of some talent, and I kind of project. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of mad that I projected a lot more for Sean Legacy than so far NXT is giving him, just because I can
Mm.
see them putting more behind Sean Legacy, and we need that type of talent in the men's division. So hopefully this is the start of something, but. I'm already sick of these damn speed belts. They need to just say they just need to give up on both of them. To be
Yeah.
honest, but
Throw
whatever.
him in a river like you do the other NXT championships you don't care about. All right. With the
Right?
Cruiserweight and Heritage and the NXT UK and
Yeah.
whatever other belts that the 205 live belt
Kill
that
it.
we cared about.
It didn't
Whatever.
work. Admit
No.
defeat. It didn't work. Kill it.
Lexus King, Uriah Connors, Ariana Grace, and Stax were getting ready for their match. King asked Connors if he made the call. Connors said no, but his dad did, and they are on the way. So it was King and Connors versus Dempsey and Tavian Heights. Dempsey hugged Heights on the floor, and then Dempsey saw his father, William Regal, with Fit Finley. And Dempsey saw Regal, and he hit a German suplex on Height. He then put Heights in the ring. Connors hit a running knee, and then the coronation from King to get the win. And afterwards, Charlie Dempsey lay on the floor. He nodded at his father, Regal, and Dempsey entered the ring and stood side by side with King, Connors, Grace, and Stax, part of the Birthright group. Fucking Stax, come on. Great to see Regal, but it is a shame Charlie Dempsey really hasn't got the range that his father has, because just like okay, yeah, I'll join. It's like I'm sure he's working on it.
Is he though? Because I
I don't
feel
want to
like
be that guy.
yeah, I feel like he's still the same. But he's always been. Yeah, some people just don't have it. Like he got a lot of talent in the ring, but man, as far as like trying to showcase some type of personality, he refuses to give a lot. I thought it was on purpose. I bet. You know what? The funny thing is, probably might be a riot outside the ring. I bet he is like he might he might be
He never
hilarious off
shuts up.
TV.
Yeah, fucking hell,
Right? He might
Charlie.
be hilarious off TV. But yeah, this is fine. I think we already kind of seen it coming because I know who Uriah. I know Uriah Connor's dad is Finley. We know. I mean, Lexus King would not shut up about his entire home. We know that story, right? He wouldn't shut up about his dad and not liking his dad. And I always kind of wondered why. I wonder if this is I'm worried for Charlie though. Not that I don't mind this. It's just I'm interested in is this like one of those last ditch. We tried it all. We could like think about it. We know who he is. We've been knowing who he is. So why they work so hard to not have him associate with his dad? So is this like the last ditch ever to get him some type of momentum? to go towards the main roster is to finally allow him to just work with his dad. I don't know because I just wonder why it took so long. Because he could have been had William as just a manager if you really think about it for a while now. But again, to go from leading your faction, even though y'all always lost, uh, to now, joining up in this faction of nepo babies outside of Stacks, who again, the only time I've ever liked anything Stacks has ever done is when he's online explaining how he gets to be in the birthright, which is 2 words. He fucking. So that lets you know. There you go. You can connect that dots on how he's the birthright because he's the only one there who is not a nepo baby. But it is what it is. We got great. We got legendary Brian Pillman and Tough Finley, and William Regal, legend, and Santino Morelos.
And they all
What a
ended up as
legacy!
comedy wrestlers in their own way. All right, let's not.
True.
One had
100%.
hornswoggle, one one was kissing asses and drinking
Oh
pee.
my goodness, that's a
Uh,
great point.
the other. So again, it should work apart from Stacks, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
but
It depends if Lexus King is like we said, the vocal point or the main
yeah,
speaker.
who is gonna be the guy they try to make? Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy. Yeah, who's gonna be the Flair? Who's gonna be the person? I'm not saying they're actually gonna be Ric Flair. Don't get me wrong, or anything like that. But yeah, who's gonna be the vocal point? Who'll be the
Yeah.
interesting thing?
But you made an excellent point. It's like whoever leads the group in NXT always loses. I've just realised.
Right,
Doesn't matter if it be the Schism, Dark State, Culling. Do you know what I mean? You
bro.
name a group, apart from Fatal Influence.
Yeah.
uh, also, Baby Blue Gear was the thing tonight, I noticed, in our matches. And there
Now,
was
what if
chaos.
Stacks is the focal point? We missing the boat. The one who's not the Nepo baby is the world champion talent. We're missing him, man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to move on. We're going to move on quickly. There was chaos. There's chaos, Monty, all right? We've got to move on. In the parking lot, when the Culling Spears, Damon Vance saw that the wheels had been taken off the car. Robert Stone was there, and Hill said what he'd done. He didn't know which one was the Culling, so he took them all apart. Looks like anybody's not going anywhere soon.
Wow.
Yeah, man. He does cars. That's good. Tony D came to the ring to cut a promo. He said he beat Dion Lennox and left Dark State beaten and looking for answers. Oh, is that it then? Is that okay? I guess he's done. Tony mentioned he's had time to reflect. He talked about how he looked in the mirror. And there's one thing that man couldn't achieve. He said he buried himself 6 feet under and became the man standing in the ring, proving he's the toughest son of a bitch at NXT. And there were Tony chants, and he explained the second reason he came back was to win the NXT Championship, like we didn't guess for my last update. But Tony D is done with Dark State. One match, he's like, fuck the rest of you. I'm done. I'm moving on.
Oh no, but they tried to end your career. He realized everybody forgot about that because it's like, oh, okay. I just beat you all down once and then beat up your leader and that's it. That's all I gotta do. I can move on with my life now and do the second thing that he was so dramatically hiding. Oh yeah, it was such a secret what that second thing was.
Who would have guessed it? I don't know.
Who would have known that he had title aspirations? Wow. Good on Tony D. Finally
Hmm.
showing his cards. What a mastermind.
Cat's out bag. Cat's out the bag now, Tony. We know you're coming from the title. So I don't know why I went Northern. Sol Ruka was in the locker room when Lola Vice approached her. Wish Sol good luck. Vice said it felt good to knock out Jordan. Lola says she wants Sol to win the NXT Women's title. Then she wants to face Sol for the title, stand and deliver. Guys, we've only got 2 weeks. All right, let's not get too excited. Bourne wondered where Joe was. Joe said he had business to take care of, and they would talk strategy. We then got Sol Ruka versus Lani Reed. Reed targeted the leg and was in control the majority of the match. She went for a knee smash, but Ruka avoided it, jumped back and hit a Soul Snatcher for the pinfall. Afterwards, Soul stood in the ring and stared at the NXT Women's Champion JC Jane. And since you have a title match, obviously next week. Again, it's not bad, is it? But it feels sometimes, even though we're only a couple of weeks away from their biggest event of the year, that they're just filling time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel it on WWE program as well. It's just filling time.
I agree 100%. Again, I think it's kind of like we mentioned about the kind of placeholders. Let's just get to the next story beat. Like it's the same thing here. It's just like okay, let's just we slow rolling to where we're trying to get. We're not trying to ramp it up. We're also not trying to do anything shocking. We're not trying to rock the boat too much. We're just trying to be functional. This was good match. Again, like I gotta give Laney a props. Uh, it's funny to me. I'm not saying she's. I still like Fallon Henley, probably the best out of the three, but. Hey man, they can keep putting Laney in the ring. I'm gonna make an
Poor
argument.
JC. But JC's in the champ. She's not even the best. She's not even the second best in her group. Do you know what
That's
I
what I'm
mean? Like,
saying. Like it don't
oh,
make sense. Like I just got introduced to Laney, and I'm looking at her like, wow, she might be better than the champ. Damn. But
um,
yeah, so good. This is fine though, fine match. But yeah, I agree. We just slow rolling on these story beats, man.
The NXT interim general manager Robert Stone was talking to WWE Speed champion Eli LaFleur, Eli Knight, and Sean Legacy. The Vanity Project walked in discussing NXT tag team titles and how they dominated the division. They want to defend the titles that stand and deliver. Legacy and Knight suggest they team up. Well, you already wear the same gear. Maybe you heard about the idea before the fucking storyline. You ruined it for everybody, huh? Anyway, Stone thinks he has an idea. Blake Morris there's a conversation and controversy. So what should we do? Tatum Pax's the instructor with the NXT North American title, asking if they'd seen Izzy. They had not seen Izzy, and Monroe was eyeing Paxley's title. So you got to pay attention to NXT. That's important. Right? The NXT Women's Speed Tournament finals: Ren Sinclair versus Thea Hale. Hale got hold of the left arm, went for the Kimura, but Ren countered and applied the final wrench submission, hook of the arms, and Hale tapped out at 158. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel Ren has replaced Thea in that kind of go get a role in NXT at this moment in time.
In every way. I
Mm.
mean, obviously they've been. I don't know why they're working so hard to replace Thea Hill. What the hell did she do? Did she tell WWE that she had other plans? Because you remember they had that girl who was all fiery. I don't remember her name, but they had her. The girl who just was like the direct. She was literally doing Thea Hill's entire
Oh
gimmick.
yeah, fucking hell, what
While
happened
they
to
had,
her?
I don't know what happened to her, but she had Thea
Jesus
Hill's
Christ, yeah.
spot and like Thea Hale was doing her stuff with JC or whatever, and like she started to act all giddy, and then Ren came in and started to make people laugh and had that higher energy. Now Ren has added a submission, just like Thea Hale was high energy and added a submission. Everybody was rooting for. Difference is I think Ren made people laugh maybe a little bit more than Thea does, and laughter is a quick way to the heart, right? So maybe that's the reason why they kind of fast shot Ren up there. And the funny thing about watching Ren doing that move is that she don't even realize when Brian Danielson used to do the counter mutilation, which is basically what that move is. He used to try to kill people with it. So it's very funny to watch her do her version of it, and people just cheer along. When in reality, that's probably one of the most painful submission moves you can do. So yeah, it's very funny. But hey, I don't know. I didn't gave up on the Thea Hale train. Thea Hale is closer to Nikita Line than she is to the next level, and I just don't know why. Because I think she has talent as far as in ring go, and I just have no clue why we're at this point to where she seems further and further away. Maybe it's punishment for the mishap, but I mean, this come on, it's
Yeah,
NXT.
but even
You
that,
can't
like,
like
yeah.
all these people screw. But she was, before that she was kind of
Mm.
screwed, getting screwed.
Yeah,
Like so,
yeah.
I have no clue why they're just like, yeah, no, Thea, you can get pushed back because I at least with Nakia Lyons, I understand his injuries. I understand it may be a little bit lack of character or lack of improvement, but like for Thea, I don't really get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, as we'll see, maybe we'll see what happens in the future. Robert Stone was in the office talking to NXT tag teams. He said it's great the tournament when he went and earned a shot at stand and deliver. OTM went into the room and got into a fight with Dark State. Stone and said OTM Dark State are out the tag team tournament. That didn't take fucking long, did it? Uh, Kendall Gray said that Fatal Influence will be losing one of their titles and Gray will be coming for Jane at stand and deliver if she is still champion.
Okay.
Reed says they don't have time for this and Fatal Influence left. I don't blame them, you know? They showed the backstage area with Tatum Paxley attacked Izzy Dame from behind with a forearm. I thought I love Tatum, but I was like, that's a bit of a fucking heel move, attacking someone from behind. Dame did fight back, Scooters there to break it up. Robert Stone went up to the women to say that Dame can get a title rematch in Houston in a steel cage match. So all that for that, then I suppose. Well, it just say at the start of the show there's a cage match in 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't know.
It's a great point. Yeah, I was just talking about that. Why did they just say a couple weeks during the cage match? But yeah, so
Vengeance Day
we're not.
rematch.
Yeah, we're not done with this guy. Yay!
Yeah.
Then put him in the cage. Oh, you know what? I just thought of it. Also answer your earlier question about why this match is just a regular match. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Vic Joseph mentioned that they were only supposed to team up with Booker T for 3 months, that been together over 3 years. Vic also
Ah,
said that next Tuesday on NXT in Houston will be Booker T Appreciation Night. Booker was generally surprised by that. And they played Booker's song, and Booker then hugged Vic at ringside. And it's really weird, Monty, because again, I'm not going to draw comparisons because, I'm no Booker T. But I kind of know the feeling about working with someone on NXT and thinking, oh, is this going to be a week or whatever it is? And then like nearly 6 years later, man. Do you know what I mean? So it might not be Booker T appreciation, but it's always Monty Appreciation Day.
yeah, man, I appreciate that. That's why I got so many damn monitors now. That's why I keep connecting nicknames. I just stuck around, but yeah, no. Yeah, this was cool, man. Especially because I don't know how much stock. I heard different reports that people say that Booker was really taken aback by this because he didn't. Not only did he not know, but WWE wanted to do something nice for him, or NXT and WWE want to do something nice for Booker because he's been very helpful and very good for them. And like he also had got like listed a few years in a row now. He's been listed like the worst commentator on that on Meltzer's fan voted list or whatever. And I don't know what they listening to because again, is it like if you're only looking at wrestling, if you're only looking at commentary for like play by play stuff or just like technical type of commentary, then I guess I can understand how you may not find Booker T being your cup of tea, pun intended, I guess. Like maybe I get it, but from my perspective, ain't nobody by far. Like maybe Taz and Shivani from every now and then. Nobody anywhere in the close to as entertaining as Booker T, man. Nobody adds, like you mentioned before, adds life to some of the dull moments of NXT, or even for some of these characters who don't have much. You listen to Booker T talk about fatal influence, and you couldn't tell me they aren't the most important thing on NXT. You know what I'm saying? Because of how exciting or how that energy he kind of adds to their interests and just everything about them. So like, if anybody deserves some love when it comes to like the quality, I don't know about you. I know he gets me through a lot of these episodes when we're doing these reviews. So as somebody whose timeline is kind of lined up pretty much with the Booker T on commentary era, and I enjoy when Wade was down there too, but Booker T is just I don't know what NXT will be without him. I'll be really sad once him and Vic split up or they do something else. If they ever do change it up, I'm gonna be really. It's gonna take a while to get used to whatever they do after that. But yeah, so that's how much I enjoy them as a tandem. So this is really cool.
Yeah, doubt. Well, the main event was Joe Hendry and Miles Bourne versus Ethan Page and Ricky Saints. Page tossed the NXT title to Ricky in the ring. Referee Adrian Butler stopped Ricky from using the title, and Joe got a roll up for two. Ricky ran the ropes. Page made a tag, and Ricky hit a spear. Ricky was mad at Page for tagging him, but Bourne drop kicked him out the ring. Referee made Bourne leave, and Page hit twisted grin on Joe on the NXT title whilst the referee was dealing with Bourne, so he never saw it. Page covered and got the win over the NXT Championship. Afterwards, Ricky Saints celebrated with Ethan Page, and they plugged NXT in Houston next week. And Page and Saints did the pose of the ring and staring at each other, while Vic made the point that maybe Ricky realised Page did something that Saints couldn't do. We also, I don't know if it's this week, 'cause I didn't write it down here, if it was Saints throwing in the belt too far again. But anyway, the looks and interactions between Page and Saints have been excellent. Do you know what I mean? They've been like really, really good stuff.
What I like about it, which I wish the people explored this more, is that I don't trust either one of them. And
Mm.
like for some reason, they both keep going along with this partnership. where it feels like you shouldn't trust either one of them. And they also move like they don't trust each other. And I think that's the
Yeah.
most compelling thing about it. It's like they know they shouldn't trust each other, but they're still trying to accomplish, but they also want the same thing. So it's very complex, but kind of different angle because usually we get this element or we get this type of involvement from two baby faces, you know. But to get it from two obvious bad guys and to watch them kind of grapple uh, with trying to chase Hendry, but at the same time use each other to continue to get an advantage on Hendry. It's very, very. It's a very refreshing little side angle to what we got going on here. Now, will it lead to either one of them becoming champion? That'll be the interesting point. But I do think before either one do become champion, they will part ways because we know how that title. We know what the world title do, man. It's always gonna split you up no matter babyface or heel. So it's really been interesting to watch it from two bad guys because we know they're willing to do anything, but they're also willing to use each other. And it's really all about who's gonna realize they're being used or who's gonna kind of how do you thwart the using. Like it's gonna be really interesting to see where we get to that. And can Joe Hendry's title survive it? Because I'm with if they're not gonna call up Ethan Page, if you're telling me I can get another Ethan Page world title run, I'm not opposed to it, to be honest. So
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there's
that's
no
where
one
I'm
at
at.
NXT. There's no one at NXT that deserves a standard liver moment, or like you said, another run than Ethan Page. And again, it's the little nuances between him and Ricky that we just haven't got in NXT. You know, we talk about
Right.
moves and good matches and stuff, but we like the stuff. You know, even with Roman, it's a little side looks. Do you know what I mean, to the bloodline
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, and it's the stuff that these two guys have done because obviously how experienced they are. And like you said, I think I get a kick out of them not trusting the other, just so disingenuous. You know, I
Right.
just really like it. Impact March 12th, Indy Hartwell wants the Knockouts title. Fuck's sake. On to NXT March 17th. We are sold out in Houston. I mean, it is good to get out of the house. And of course, Booker T Appreciation Night. The first match was the NXT Women's title with Sol Ruka, Zarya challenging JC Jane. Even with Jane being the one holding the gold, it was all about Zarya and Ruka. As they were mainly focused on in the moments. Each competitor leaned into their strengths, with, of course, Zara using her power, Ruka using agility, and Jane, I don't know, using the hill tactics, maybe. Jane was able to escape with her championship thanks to interference from her fatal influence cohorts. I mean, how does Jane do it? You know what I mean? I do not know. It's like the woman that lost a penny
They
and
book
found a
her like
pound,
that
or
now.
whatever it is. I mean, it's just
Have you
unbelievable.
have you noticed they book her like that? Like she's the only heel champion that I've ever seen win by survival.
I don't know. I just don't know anymore.
Like they're leaning into the fact that we know that she's probably not worthy, but she's gonna end up being like a 300 some plus day overall type, women's champion, and she does not feel dominant at all. It is insane, but this is a good opener. But I do say opener because like as soon as I realized it was opener, I was like, well, we're not getting the title change.
Yeah.
We're not getting the title change. This is cool though. Again, good way to start thing. I don't know how suspenseful everything was, but it was fun, and I do not mind JC Jane winning in this way. This is probably the most compelling version, maybe because I don't really have a high faith that she's much better, like or that she's better than a lot of the girls she's facing at this point. So if you're not gonna do I mean, of course she did get help from the crew, but if you're not gonna do that predictable uh, angle, then having her just basically look up or just like fall into winning, I did kind of get a kick out of it. So
Yeah.
this was good, but I was, not only was I worried about, I knew we weren't getting a title change here, but I'm also just like we're a few hours from standing to deliver. How can the best story told so far and the longest story told so far? How can we get not have that looking like it's going to be involved with the world title? I was
Yeah.
kind of a little perplexed, but I guess we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, I agree with it because again, for me, we're not going to probably talk about stand deliver as much, but I think Soul versus Zarya is the match of stand and deliver. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So, like you said, for a title, It'd make all the sense in the world. Sol was lucky not to get hurt on the apron with a dive outside. She has to watch that because, again, it looked fucking awful. Ricky Saints came to the ring to talk about recent setbacks, including slipping on the ropes here. Booker started cracking up. Saints made a little joke about it when he grabbed the microphone. He said he and Ethan Page know how to pivot, and that's why they won their tag match last week against Hendry and Miles Bourne. All Ego joined him in the ring, reminded it was him who pinned Hendry last week, implying that he should be the one to get the NXT title shot. Both men wanted to call out Joe, which brought out the champ to respond. He started taunting Page and Saints while planting seeds for them to fight each other, but he ended up attacking Hendry instead. After Champion took out both of them, Tony D came out of nowhere and dropped all three men. The bearded Don has his sights set on gold, and I think that is the main event of Stand and Deliver. But then again, needs must in this men division, you know?
Yeah, I think it's been obvious though, and let's just be honest, man. We top heavy. It ain't nobody else who's gonna get in this spot, and I don't think the fact that Ricky ain't forced to the back of the line just show you we ain't deep. Like Ricky been chasing, Ricky been after this belt after he lost it in December nonstop, and there's nobody in there to like be to get Ricky out of it because other like he really is too much. He way too better for. He's way too good for us to be like, all right, well, that's Ricky versus Jackson Drake, the storyline. Nobody cares about that. Nobody want to see Ricky and Shiloh heel. Nobody want to see that. So he's at that point, and like then you got Ethan Page, and we said what we just said about him, and then you throw again after just kind of rough shotting an entire faction by itself. You go to Tony D, and I think honestly I wouldn't be mad if that's what we getting. We getting a 4-way. That's probably good hopes for Hendry retaining, but you know why not just go ahead and throw the best that they got in the men's division right now in a match and just do it that way and see what kind of story they can tell. But yeah, this is fine. Nice, nice. Also, I love them again trying to play off the tension that we know is there between Rick and Ethan Page, which I'm sure we're gonna see come into play as weeks go by. But I think that's what we get. I think we're getting a 4-way for Stand and Deliver.
Yeah. Well, how important was that stand deliver match between Page and fucking Ricky Saints last year as well? Even that plays into the kind of the storyline a little bit where, we maybe thought it was a throwaway. And obviously Page's reign, as he mentioned, started after beating Saints again. So I kind of like it, like we said. But rather than the slump busters, absolute ego is the way to go. Well, until you break up. It's so nice having William Regal back on TV as well. He spoke to Robert Stone about the GM position. And then we had Los Americanos versus the Vanity Project. Oh, fucking sweet Jesus. At least Tyler Bate is enjoying himself. And it was Los Americanos who scored the win thanks to Grande using loaded master hit headbutt for the pin. And this was a much better match than it had any right to be. I guess they are faces like in AAA. So, I like Goofy. So we're going to see. I'll leave it there with Los Americanos because I'm not quite sure, but I thought that was very entertaining. We see Ilya LaFleur is taking the injured Legacy's place the team with Eli Knight in the tag tournament to crowd number one contenders for Stand and Deliver. We then had a special video aired highlighting what Booker has accomplished with some NXT talent sharing his memories of his career. Book's family's in the ring with him when Vic Joseph presented him with a plaque. Unfortunately, Keanu Carver arrived on the scene and he's had issues with Booker. He took out some security guards. Two of Booker's students tried to intervene, but it was Jasper Troy to make the save. Again, yeah, I mean, two big men going to fight. But again, it's nice that Booker T was genuinely a little emotional, as we've spoken about in Houston with that. And I don't think we do celebrate some legends as much as we should, and I think Booker is definitely someone that
Mm-hmm.
deserves it.
Yeah, and he's also one of those guys who's doing it right. A lot of people talk about the business, but Booker's giving back. A lot of those students who got beat up, those are his, reality of wrestling, his promotion in Houston. Those are his students that he trained personally, and he always have NXT talent coming down to Houston, Texas, to do shows. So, and he giving them more experience on his own show that he booked. So, again, I think he deserves some credit for all for giving back and just again being one of those stories that pro wrestling done right and away from a legendary perspective. I mean, he's healthy enough to still look like to the point to where I saw people's takeaway from this segment was they wanted Booker to fight the kid. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be opposed to it. I do feel like that's one element of this whole Keanu keep targeting him thing to where I'm just annoyed by. I don't really need. I've never been one of those guys who was a fan of let's bully the non-active wrestler commentator. Like even when they used to always some of the heels would heel on JR. Now it's time for King to get in the ring. Like I never was into that. You know, growing up. You know, at times I guess it could have been done. It had its moments, but I never really was into the entire angles of it that we got. So you know, if we're gonna keep teasing it, then you know, let Booker's in pretty good shape. Let him come back and work, you know, work a match. But I don't even want to be honest. I don't need Booker to come back and just lose to a young guy. So do I think Jasmine Charles should represent him? I mean, I guess he's fine as a placeholder or whatever. You know, I guess that's cool. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about the whole let's just keep making Keanu Carver and Booker T have problems. I don't know about that, especially if it's not really an end goal that could be satisfying for everybody. But like you said, we definitely need to celebrate Booker T. This is a overall a good segment and it made sense. But as
Mm.
far as the whole Keanu Carver, I figured he would be involved. But again, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, have you ever been a fan of that? Like targeting the wrestler where
Do,
it don't feel like we got an end goal. Like unless you bring that wrestler back out of retirement on some Brian Danielson or whatever, you know, type stuff, then sure. But you know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, don't
I
get
don't
me
know how
wrong.
you feel about it, how I feel
I,
about
li-
that.
I I loved when the King used to stand up to Taz, you know. But again, I was fucking teenager, so I loved everything, you know. And also really Regal having to fight Cesaro. I thought that was good, but I mean
Yeah,
that is a
that's
long time ago, and
it
they
was a
are
select
missing,
moment, but they did it
yeah,
right. Yeah.
and they're missing a trick if they don't call him Jasper T, you know, and just start having having the gear on him and stuff like that. Come on, it's right there, it's right
Right
there,
there.
everybody. The Women's Speed Championship was the second title defended when Fallon Henley faced Ren Sinclair. Since it was for the belt, the time limit was 5 minutes instead of three. Still isn't much time, especially with no entrances. So both women got going quick with much offense as possible. But Sinclair didn't even need the full 5 minutes. She was able to make Henley tap out with 1 minute 20 left on the clock. And new speed champion. Good for Ren. Like we said, taking the field Hale role. But I think Kendall Gray vacating the evil title was maybe a bad idea. I mean, she and Sinclair as champions would have been fun. I mean, I know she's liked in the back, but do we need her to be the one beating JC Jane? You know, and I don't really want to talk about her whilst this is Ren Sinclair's moment as well.
They love Kendall, man. I'm really if she gets and we'll talk I guess we'll talk about that in the next episode. If she ends up getting the spot against I don't know if I can pick I don't know if I can pick against her against JC Jane, you know, because of how much I know they like her and her giving up that belt like you mentioned that she could have kept and then she could have her and Sinclair could have looked better as a tandem with champions. But yeah, man, I don't know how to feel about that overall. So congrats to Ren. I don't like the belt. I want it gone. But at the end of the day, you know, I do think this is the first belt for her. She found like and she's on a winning. She's pretty much on a winning streak. And you know, I can't really say that this wasn't a good moment for her. I'm not really a fan of these match concepts. But you know, she's done a good job. We've literally watched her just be an annoying, kind of funny backstage personality to where we're now, you know, she's a prominent part of the show every week. So, you know, this is a congratulations to her. She does deserve that.
Ethan Page told Robert Stone to book Saints versus Tony D next week in quite a funny segment. Hank and Tank versus the Birthright was next. Bout might not have been on the golden line, but the winners would advance in the NXT title tournaments. But I mean, where are the brackets? You say there's a tournament, and I don't see any fucking brackets. I don't see Booker T's bracketology or anything like this, you know. Hank and Tank use their size, but Stacks and Connors had the numbers on the side with Dempsey, King, and Grace at ringside. Birthright got the victory. And again, I don't mind them at the moment. OTM and Dark State were shown fighting outside the arena. Dark State left the two big boys laying.
Anytime
Again,
they can't, anytime they're not brawling,
no,
OTM.
they're always falling. That's their gimmick. But the Birthright, I know, was negative with the tag team division, and I'm not talking about Stacks here. You know, Stacks needs to fucking do one, like, you know. But I think I think like a Dempsey and a Connors or combination, I think would work and gives me a little bit of hope with the NXT tag division.
Jury's out for me on Birthright. I don't dislike the Nepo baby. I do think it's funny that Dave Finlay's brother has his current partner's last name. That's very funny to me for some reason.
Oh
The
yeah,
Rock
yeah.
honors, yeah, very, very funny to me. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see. The jury's still out for me because, to be honest, even if they do take over the tag team division and be nice, who the hell they gonna fight? And
Look,
I
I'm trying to
supposed to
be
get
positive,
excited
man.
about the
You know what
red.
I'm saying? Don't bring me down.
All right,
I was shitting
fair
all
enough.
over NXT last month, or last update. I'm trying to. I know it's a horrible thing, but at least there's something. Like that's what.
Fair enough.
We got a gauntlet match announced to find the next contender for the men's North American title. Theo Hale encouraged Tatum. Hale didn't listen to Jordan's advice, and Fallon was pissed with JC. Um, and then we got the feud between Tatum, Paxi, and Izzy. Dame came to a head in the week's main event with the North American title inside a steel cage. Dame attacked Pax before they were in the cage and stomped on her against the steel steps. She fell Pax in the ring and grabbed a chair for joining her and officially beginning the match. They spent about 10 minutes on the top rope, didn't they? Just mucking about. But both women did work hard and took some big bumps. So the match had plenty to enjoy. Dame put up a great fight, but Paxi prevailed to retain her North American title. But as she was celebrating on the stage, Blake Monroe appeared from a trap door to take her down to the darkness. I loved the end of it. I mean, what were your thoughts on the cage match? Again, NXT relying on the women, but rightly so.
Yeah, the finish was the best part. The finish was incredible. Tatum is a good wrestler. I think like the more I watch her, the more I'm just really impressed with just like how well rounded she seemed to be. I miss old cage matches, and if you remember the old cage matches, then you know exactly what I mean by that. But like, this is not the fault of the ladies or fault of anybody where else. It's just cage match used to mean so much more to me, even in WWE. But now we barely can get any blood. We're not gonna get. It just don't feel as dramatic as they used to be. Like that used to be when they used to say that the cage match was the traditional blow off and whatever. Like I trust me, like it used to really be up there as a stipulation. Now it doesn't really feel like it has that same thing. But this is a good main event. I don't think and the reason why I highlight what I just said about the cage is like I just got like the imagery in my mind. I think it was Sean or it was somebody, but they used to. Oh, I just remember them grading, and they did it in the Hell in the Cell too a lot. But Sean used to just be flying off the cage. Like I just remember a lot of Shawn Michaels cage matches. And just he used to work that cage, and they just don't work the cage anymore. Like you mentioned, they did a lot of mucking about up top and stuff, but they didn't really use the cage a lot. It was useless, other than like a couple of those moments that we like the high spot, the crazy spot at the top. So they used it for that, but they didn't really do anything else. Izzy Dane reminds me in a funny way. I don't know how you feel about this, but like at times I can see her being like the girl, like she wrestles like the female version of Test to me. And and like if you
Did
remember
not see
Test,
that
Test
Paul
is
coming. I did not see that coming.
Test is explosive. He was explosive, but he didn't do a lot. He had four moves that looked awesome, like the gut wrench powerbomb, and he did the little neck breaker he used to do, and he had, of course, the big boot was awesome. He had four moves that he did like really, really good, and then the rest of his move set was just generic big man stuff, and like that's how Izzy comes off at times. She's kind of generic so far. She's getting there. She's improving. I think working with Tatum is helping her, but that's what I know that felt weird, but again, if you really think about what I mean, like she's good at the choke slam, she's good at the few moves that she's really good at, and now the rest of it is where she kind of needs to freshen up and get right with, but and like actually with character working, making you feel something is what she needs to improve it. But anyway, all the people what listening to this, just go look up Tess. I know a lot of y'all might not care about Tess at this point, but
No, but again, the similarity with Test and Izzy is that they were both trained from WWE from scratch. You know what I mean? So again,
right.
talk about cookie cutter wrestlers when it's not done right. You can see, you know what I mean? You can see the seam, so
Mm-hmm.
to speak. So,
Right,
Yes,
100%.
that's
But this
interesting.
is
No,
fine. This is fine.
yeah, and Test should be remembered. One of those guys should be remembered. I know he died of, heart attack and all this lot with wherever
Right.
he is. But again, if it weren't for Triple H fucking him over in the end of '99, with that story, how
Never
he how
recovered.
I don't know how he got out of there. Yeah, I mean he got immunity, didn't he? But still, it's not a Test story. We're doing an update. Anyway, Impact March 19th. 76-year-old Mike Jackson lost to Mr. Elegance in the best match of Impact. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm really into it. I was like, yeah, no, I like it. Danny Luna and Ariana Grace defeated the Angel Warriors in a tag team match. And did I mention Ryan Nemeth in a dress? He wasn't forced to, and that's why I like him a little bit more, you know. Anyway, NXT March 24th, the last NXT. The show started with
Very
Stone trying to
typical.
balance out backstage requests from Charlotte Hill, Tatum Paxton, and Josh Briggs unsuccessfully. We started with action with Fallon Henley and Lani Reed versus Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair. The former Evolved Women's Champ went for a cross armbar on Reed, while Sheldon blocked the first attempt. She locked in a second. Ren locked in her own submission on Henley, forcing a tap out from Reed. Afterwards, Gray demanded a shot at JC Jane. Lola Vice came out to call their shot. Robert Stone made number contendership between them on the next update. Now, Monty, I know who I want. That's all I'm gonna say, and I'm sure she's very well liked in the back. But come on now, let's be
Oh,
serious.
she is. Uh,
Mm,
she's good. I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like I really do get it with Kelly Gray. I think she might have. They will. I don't think they need to fast track it though, because I don't really know character wise, and like you said, with all the talent women's wise we've had, where do we go if that is where we go completely next? Like, will it be a decent little story, or like we'll just talk about how she's kind of like a phenom in a sense or a prodigy? Sure, but like I don't know. I just feel like we got so many other more established, talented women who could tell stories also from being on top of the division and or to me, it just feel like we're gonna put off another 6 months before Blake Monroe gets a chance, if she gets a chance, or like other. And again, that's the danger of having such a deep division like we talk about. And it's just like I'd rather Kim Gray climb her way up. Hell, we just had a more interesting with the last women's champion with Tatum, in my opinion. Like, if you really think about it, like Tatum could be the one in this spot getting that
yeah,
opportunity, for me, and I would be more satisfied. And if you're gonna do it and then you do a short range and you give it to like a heel or give it to Kalani or something, then I can see it. But even then, I'll be like, well, you had the opportunity to kind of not do it that way. I don't know how I feel about it, but I wouldn't be surprised. Don't get me wrong. If Kendall wins next week, then we might as well get ready because it just feels like she's chosen. And I get it. If you look at her wrestle, she has talent. She has moments where I'm looking at her like do suplexes and just like it feels like they look at her like she Kurt Angle. And I don't know if she that damn good.
yeah, yeah,
Kurt was very special, but they are trying. If you really look at how they kind of with the straps coming down and like with her style and like the arm bars kind of like her version of Angle like they think this chick is Kurt Angle, don't they? So
yeah.
again, I don't. We'll see, but yeah, man. I don't know, man. It'll be interesting. And I do think we've been talking about Lola in this spot. We've been talking about Lola has earned the opportunity to run with the belt in different times, but she just always lose the big match. So I do
Mm,
think you also can tell a more compelling story because Lola has failed before. Even though she's been doing things, she can use the fact that she's been in AAA and she's been traveling the world, and that has gotten her prepared to finally uh, you know, come over that hump and beat somebody like JC or overcome the odds, or maybe we'll finally get whoever wins whoever babyface gets in that spot. Maybe we'll finally get this longly waited the fatal influence turn on JCJ because they've been hating each other for a long time, and we just kind of let it go that they don't like each other. But that's another finish too that I can see happen. So I
yeah.
don't know. But yeah, I'm with you on where I wanted to go with. But if Kim to win, do not be shocked.
Yeah, but again, the solution to it is the fucking women's tag team championships and making them a thing again in NXT. I mean, they're wearing match outfits, guys. Do you know what I mean? And again, the story of Fatal Influence having the tag titles and then Jay losing it and then turning on her, or Ren and like we said, I can't even remember a fucking name. Gray getting getting a shot. That's how bad it is. Getting a shot at the tag team titles or something like that. You know, I just don't understand it. Ricky Saints and Ethan Page argue about who deserves the next shot of Joe Hendry. Josh Briggs complained about no one getting time, not even getting time with Robert Stone. Who cares? Sol Ruka questioned how her friendship with Zarya fell apart for challenging her to a match at Stand and Deliver. Zarya arrived to call Ruka egotistical for forcing her to stand behind her for almost a full year after taking the Women's North American Championship. Ruka tried to push back. Zarya stood firm in the criticism. The former friend was only holding her back. You're not the villain in my story. You're the mistake, she said. I, the problem is, our promo is going to slow down Sol Ruka. Because it's something we've not discussed, I don't think, with Sol. And I've said what she can do in the ring is amazing. But with this, I was just like, oh dear. And the fans, yet again, as we mentioned earlier, seem to love the hill at this moment in time.
Yeah, but the only defense I got for Saul Ruka is they didn't come up with a compelling angle for why they took forever turning Zarya. So we sat here and we watched one person thrive while the other one ate shit for like 5 months. And like they argued a little bit and whatsoever, but it's just like they didn't give her like I can't say you're wrong. You're probably right that definitely obviously is not the strong suit, and that's probably why she's not already being fast tracked because we know if they just put her in the ring every week and just do what she does, then she'll pick up. We've seen it. The crowd will catch up to her and like they'll pick up to it. But as far as telling stories, yeah, she probably has to get a lot more smoother, and this promo does prove it because it hasn't been any opportunities where she's been in promos with the crowd and the crowd is not going with what she's saying or the crowd don't care about. I thought that promo she gave to JC Jane in a completely different scenario was a lot more confident and a lot better. So I do think they put her in a tough spot. I believe the crowd's reaction is completely on the booking. We watched Zarya be a loser for so long to where we should be mad and outraged at her doing it when no, she come off as justified because we seen her drown for months while Sol Ruka just kept kind of flying along and perfect analogy is her surfing along like nothing wrong and doing what she has to do while Zarya has been drowning consistently and losing and not and being uh, overlooked and as they get pit together pit against each other, we all saw the sign. Everybody knew it was coming. But since they waited 6,000 years to just kind of pump fake on it, it does look like Sol Ruka is just still kind of ignoring her and whatever, to the point to where, I almost wish Sol Ruka turned.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, we talked about that possibility being more interesting because I think also not only are the new wrestling fans or the fans are like in that weird spot that we talked about, it is also the element of if you do something that's predictable, the fans are gonna fill the blanks where they want to. And
Yeah.
like that's kind of angle where we at too, because like the fans all know where creative may want us to go with this story, but the people who watch every week got more of a soft spot for what Zarya been doing than what they have for what Sol Ruka has been going through. Sol Ruka does not. It doesn't seem like we need to get sympathy for Sol Ruka. Sol Ruka's been winning this entire time. She's been in the title matches and et cetera, et cetera. Zarya has not. So again, it's all of this in my opinion is based on booking, but I do think you're not necessarily wrong in your assessment that Sol Ruka needs to be put in these scenarios more to get more comfortable with speaking in those environments. Because we even saw it with Kalani with her first initial heel promo and not seeming as confident. And then a few weeks later, after going through that, she sounded like she was 100% into what she was into what she was saying. So I just don't think Saruka had a lot to work with because even if you listen to what she actually said back to Zarya, Zarya could just cut her off and make her a point because it Saruka didn't really have a point to make against her other than you were as a matter of fact Saruka sounded like a heel. She was like you're just not confident enough to stand beside me. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like she doesn't even sound like a babyface no more. So yeah, I don't know. I think they put her in a tough spot.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they got the confidence in Soul having that hill run, but maybe,
Oh hell no.
maybe they should have done something a little
Plus, we
bit
have to
different.
change her style. They don't want that.
Exactly, yeah. But again, Soul not talking, and or just saying, "Look, I'm not talking," and just every time she sees Zari, just trying to beat the shit out of her. Do you know what I mean? And try and do it maybe that way or something like that. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's the biggest match in NXT. But again, it's weird that they've turned, and it's like it's because they have to, but there's not a massive reason. And like I said, if Soul turning heel would have made that story so much better. But we'll see. We'll see. They've got 2 weeks, haven't they? Like they've got loads of time to sort this out. We got Kalani Jordan versus Thea Howell yet. Next in a dominant showing, Jordan overwhelmed Hale and sealed the win with one of the kind. After Jordan continued to attack
Woo.
until Jada Parker arrived to run her off. And Kalani says Thea needs a heel run, which I think is right. But it's funny because when Jada Parker came out, I was like, oh fuck, we just seen this match. I was like, oh no, hang on a minute. No, it was Lola and Jordan, wasn't it? And Parker and Blake, and now Blake's gone to Tatum because Izzy's not there anymore. But again, at least it's kind of connected in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah, and you gotta remember that when Kailani was a white meat babyface months ago, she briefly feuded with Jada too. So they also got kind of like that's just how long they've just all been there. That it's kind
Yeah,
of like that we're all kind of like, all right, let's jump to this, to that. So yeah, we're in that weird spot. Thea here, I just couldn't look at this, even though it's great, good as Kalani looked. By the way, again, like I tell you, just in a couple minutes, she has settled all the way in. She is going to be all right. I believe Kalani has showed enough in her run in NXT, and even with her little stuff in Impact, she will be fine. Like whether they make her a bad guy on the main roster, whether they call her up and just allow her to wrestle, she seemed to just be able to adapt, and that's a great element to what I think her talent. But yeah, as far as Thea Hale go, man, hopefully she does get a chance to run heel because right now, man, right now you might have to look out for her after Mania too, bro.
yeah, it's not good. Charlotte Hill offered Tatum Paxi a G location to find Mariah May and a Women's North American Championship. As big as North American
Not weird at
Championship.
all,
No, hey, look, whatevs. The men's North American Championship, number one contender, Gauntlet Eliminator. Charlotte Hill and Jackson Drake opened the match. Dion Lennox and then Charlie Dempsey followed with no early eliminations. The last man was Johnny Gargano, introduced by Candice LeRae, who hoped returning home would bring back Johnny wrestling. Gargano took one hit and was right back to a sleepy, near catatonic state on the apron, and the wrestlers worked around them. The Dark State Star threw Hill through a barricade at ringside. I don't know if he meant it or not. OTM later used the broken barricade to stop Lennox's head and set up Hill for the first elimination. Hill and Drake went back and forth until Hill caught with a pop-up nutbreaker for the second elimination. Dempsey caught Hill with a regal plex for near fall, but Hill fired back and got another elimination. Oh, I wonder if they like Shiloh Hill. I'm not sure. The Birthright attacked Hill afterwards, send him into steel
huh?
steps, and the Poison Pixie dumped Gargano onto Hill to win and earn a shot at Miles Bourne. Bourne came out and towered over Gargano when he came out to step his next
Yes, he
challenger.
did.
But look at the good side. Johnny is back home. And I've said this before. Gargano is to NXT what Kenny Omega was for New Japan. For those fans who lived it, I will never forget what Johnny Gargano did in NXT.
Yeah, I'm just happy that they trying something. I just don't know if he like how long is it gonna take and like what do you do to get Johnny his mojo back? Does he have to come down here and actually give us a run and then he can go back to the main roster, or are we just or is he relegated to only being special in NXT? That's the one thing I don't really like about the messaging that it kind of sends me, and that's no shot to Johnny, especially for me because I agree with you about what he is. It's just creatively, it's just uh interesting to me, man, that we kind of got to bring them back here and here we go. I thought this was creative, by the way. I thought this was a correct creative way to use his catatonic state and all of that kind of whatever he's going through. So don't get me wrong, I did get a kick out of the way they're using him, but it's just very interesting to me, man, that he's kind of uh relegated back home. I think he'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be entertaining, and I would like to see. how creative they get with him kind of getting his mojo back. But I'm very, very surprised, bro. Like I was surprised to see him back. I'm not mad that he's back. I was just surprised. And I don't know what to make of the whole. I don't know what to do with this Miles Bourne thing. Like who's gonna be heel? Is this a feud? Is this just a one-off match? Like it'll be interesting to see. What that entails. But I'm happy. I'm always happy to see Johnny because again, it's just something. I don't know why, but it's just something different about whenever he's back in Orlando.
Yeah, but the conversation is obviously like, right, who's going to face Miles Bourne for the title? He said, well, we've got these four guys in the NXT Championship match. Okay, we've got no one else then. All right, pull the chain for Johnny or
Yeah.
something like that. Like I said, I
Oh, and
mean, Gargano.
that's another message. Jesus, I forgot to say that. We starving, brother.
Yeah, exactly. But again, I don't mind Gargano coming back, even if he stays in NXT as that kind of guy. You know what I mean? Who's that step you have to get past if you want to be champion or something like that. Something that I think Gargano should have done a long time ago. I know they tried DIY and stuff like that, but I don't think you could have replicated that from what we had in NXT. It's really weird, like we said with Gargano. That obviously the talent's there, but we'll find out. I'm sure it'll be an excellent match with Miles Bourne. Backstage afterwards, OTM announced they would fight Dark State in a six-man tag match alongside Mike Santana, who did a short pre-tape message because we're in New York and obviously, Mike Santana has to be involved. Kiana Carver, Jasper Troy, both promised victory in MSG, and Robert Stone continued to field various requests. He promised to find someone to referee Carver versus Troy on the next update. He also granted Jada Parker a match with Kalani Jordan as well. And in the NXT Tag Team Championship number contender tournament, the Culling versus, well, early in the night, it was revealed that someone had laid out Eli Knight and Elio LaFleur backstage. Los Americanos took their place in the tournament. It makes me think, what was the point of the fucking segments that we had in the previous weeks, Ray and Bravo both loaded the mask with metal plates, set up a headbutt, knocking Spears out and getting the free count. So it's going to be the Birthright taking on Los Americanos. You just couldn't make it up, really, could you? Do you know what I mean? Only in NXT, maybe in Impact, but only in TNA would you get in NXT would we get something like this.
I just hope Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate are doing well in life and their mental health is okay. And like I said, they're being professionals. Every time I see them, they're being entertaining. You know, same thing with Gable. Like, I mean, obviously with man, what was his bleeping name?
Kaiser.
I was going to call him Fabian Eichner.
Yeah, no, to be fair,
Ludwig Kaiser. Yeah, there we go. So Kaiser knocked it out of the park to the point where he feels like a celebrity down there. He getting mystical pops when they go to when they go to AAA. So he knocked it out the park. And but the great wrestlers we lost for something that I didn't think would turn into what it has turned into is just crazy to me. But the guys are employed. I just hope they all doing well mentally. Because I can imagine you work your ass off for years. You Tyler Bate, you've been working for years to get to the main roster. You Pete Dunne, you done it all. You know, they've convinced you multiple times to stick around under the WWE banner and they stick you under a mask and now you gotta act like you speak Spanish.
I just the thing is I treat Dunn and Bay along the same lines as like Gunther and Dragunov, and it's
Right.
crazy
They should be
to
in that same
think,
ilk.
yeah,
As a matter of fact, that's a faction if you want it. That's a
I,
badass faction.
oh, I don't know. Well, after a night of frustration, not with Los Americanos, but Josh Briggs was frustrated, interrupted Robert Stone with Kiana Garver and agreed to referee his match with Troy. I mean, we talk about Thea Hale and Nikita Lyons. I mean, Josh Briggs is a referee. He's not. Let me look into that magic eight ball. Doesn't look good. Do you know
Oh
what
my
I mean?
god.
Chances aren't good. Fuck me. Tate and Paxi found Blake Monroe in a hotel room and warned that they would meet in the ring next week. But again, Blake Monroe is becoming more Mariah May a little bit because that was, I mean, um, whoever's a feet man or whoever it is, I'm sure paused that quite a few times. You
Wow.
know what I mean?
Oh
But
yeah.
like, I mean, my God. Anyway. Main event was Tony D'Angelo versus Ricky Saints, who was with Ethan Page. And while the power and size of D'Angelo was a problem for Saints early on, he was able to utilize the ringside area to wear down the bigger man. Tony tried to shift the momentum, but took a spear from Absolute for the first true near fall of the match. The mocking stomps and slaps of Saints annoyed the former Don, who started to roll and hit his own impactful spear. Like I said, not enough spears. When Tony D prepared to chokeslam Absolute, all ego attack causing a DQ. The Hills tried to lay into Tony afterwards, but Joe Hendry arrived to make the save for hitting the man that laid him out last week with a standing ovation. The final shot in the ring was Saints and Page fighting over the NXT Championship, while Tony D smiled at Joe Hendry. And then Robert Stone did announce a fatal four-way for the NXT Championship for Stand and Deliver and a contract signing for next week's update. Monty, what were your thoughts on this? Because, like I said, Saints and Page are great together, but this is a huge moment for Tony D as well.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't a four-way, I would think this is a everybody was all working together to crown Tony D, and maybe eventually that's where we end up, or maybe they use this four-way to crown Tony D. I don't know, but again, I agree. I think honestly, NXT is always going to be about the future, and if you look at everybody here, you got three guys who've already been champion. The only guy who hasn't been was beat over Femi once and like took the belt off him. You know what I'm saying? And has done pretty much everything you need to do, in my opinion, or everything I can expect him to do in NXT. So I think if they're using these veterans, if they're using these guys as a vehicle to eventually get Tony D to that spot, who knows? I think that'll be kind of cool. But other than that, man, it'll be interesting to see because I like four ways, so I think this can be a nice way to do it, a fun way to do it, and I can't wait to see if they decide to play on. Because you brought up a great point about last year's Stand and Deliver being where Ethan, like if I'm Tony D or whoever wants to bring it up, even Hendry in the promo, I'm bringing up that history. I'm gonna try to wedge a part of them because we know that the championship is already getting in between them too. So it's going to be interesting. I think if we play on that a little bit more, that can be a fun main event. I do think if you're talking about selling tickets, like you want those Vegas people who to have to be up early and come to that show. I think that's probably the biggest male oriented match that's going to sell tickets for NXT Stand and Deliver. If you really think about it, because like you mentioned, we have the name value of Ethan and Ricky, and you got Joe Hendry and everything he brings to the table as champion, and then you have again pretty much the only person that's even remotely on that tier from the male roster is Tony D. So I'm interested, and I hope that we have a good you know fun match. It'll be I was about to say the rest of the bill, but we already almost there. This pretty much is the bill. So it'll be good. I can't wait to see the end result here, but I do think this is where we start. And right now, I'm not opposed to that being on the marquee to sell tickets because I do think it will sell tickets.
Yeah. One thing I should mention, we not about Stand and Deliver, and you just reminded me now, is that it's not actually going to be on WrestleMania weekend, and it's not Las Vegas, it's in St. Louis, or St. Louis as it
Oh,
is, April
ah,
4th. So we've literally got the New York show, and then it's Stand and Deliver the week before Dynasty. So
I'm not
that,
opposed to it. I'm not
yeah.
opposed to it
Well,
either
that's why
though.
we're trying to get all the NXT in because, again, like I said, so hopefully in 2 weeks' time we can review Stand and Deliver before we get to WrestleMania. But I don't know, changing you exactly. Is it going to help them? Or I guess it's going to be. It's not going to be an arena they're going to be in, is it? It'd probably be a theater or
Yeah,
something like that.
probably
So,
not. Yeah, but
um,
I think if you think about where we are, we just talk about how weird this era of NXT is and how hard I thought. And I'm glad you said that because it's just like I don't really think like selling tickets outside of the Soul Rooker match and like I said, having to pretty much lump in anybody of name value in the men's division now, and even having to get a Gargano match now. It's like to me they were doing whatever they can to try to just garner up some interest. But if we're not doing it in Vegas, you don't have to worry so much about the time and where we are. So that's another good element of it. So I'm not necessarily mad about that. It's a little weird because I became used to that tradition. But I'm not mad at it because I do think if we think about where we are with this roster, this might be the perfect spot for them.
Yeah, and the good thing is, like I said, we're not going to review. We'll have one night of WrestleMania now, and like I said, we'll review Stand Deliver a couple of weeks before, whatever it is. I'll have a look at it. Impact March 26th to finish on, and Buff Bagwell showed up.
Oh
People
man.
might not know. WCW legend, you can't see me doing that with my fingers, but still, he wanted to apologize to the
Sure.
fans for his behavior over the past 20 years. And he
What?
wants to, yeah, 20, he's apologized for the last 20 years. And he wants the fans to get behind him one last time. And he's offered to wrestle one last time for TNA. Frank Kazarian interrupted and kind of pointed out the things that I maybe would have said. But anyway, Elijah then came out and told Buff Bagwell he can walk with Elijah. I'm not even joking.
That's a
I'm
real
not.
thing.
That's a real thing. But yes, walking and leg up and all this jokes. That was it. Was, yeah, Buff Bagwell's going to have a match in TNA. That's what's going to happen. I just.
Oh my gosh, bro. What are we doing? Like, how much name value do they think Buff Bagwell still has?
I don't. I saw it and I was like, I've I've got to write this down because Monty just will not. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what I was doing last night, but it happened. I'm sure it did. Buff
Oh
Bagwell.
my god.
Yeah. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So be glad you're not watching TNA. You know, because Buff Bagwell will probably be TNA champion about the glory or something. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Oh my god.
Um. Well, anyway, one final thing, Monty. What are your thoughts on NXT? Like I said, we're up to date for the first time this year. Heading in, we've got the NXT show in New York, and then straight to Stand and Deliver. What are your thoughts, though, on Vengeance Day and what we've just seen?
Yeah, I think my thoughts are a lot of what we just said, man. It's been a weird period. But this is stand and deliver. So usually this is the transition into the next era. It'll be interesting to see, if Joe Hendry can survive his contenders. It'll be interesting to see what direction we're going, whether it's JC Jane or Levice. And Kendall Gray, like what direction we're gonna go there. And now that Stand and Deliver is not a part of WrestleMania weekend, it'll be interesting to see is this going to be another glorified episode of NXT where it's just built like a PLE, or is this gonna actually try to live up to the moniker that I thought Stand and Deliver was kind of trying to bring itself, which is like a developmental WrestleMania type of energy. So it'll be interesting to see, man. I don't know, but we still transitioning, man. I don't. It's a lot of stuff that I'm just question marks about. I'm just like I'm gonna hold that thought right now. I don't want to. It's a lot some talent that are trending down that I'm worried about. But other than that, as far as everybody else and the people that we're seeing a lot of right now, when it comes to the Nepo babies and like even the Vanity Project and like again, I think the men's division, as far as like where we were just a few weeks ago versus where we are now, we still got a lot of work to do. We still got to try to build something. I mean, we're relying on Gargano now in our North American title picture because we are literally that short. It feels like of just viable, talent, and so that's a weird spot to be in my opinion. Then in the women's division, we got a lot of interesting stories and feuds, but we also got a lot of people who are just seem like they're doing nothing because we know they're not challenging for the world title, and it's just or not challenging Tatum quite yet because we see Tatum is going to be doing stuff with Blake going forward. So it's really interesting to see. It's really interesting that NXT just continues to be this contrast. And how much longer can they be? How much longer can they be a contrast to where we're just way more invested in everything we got going in the women's divisions versus only caring about a couple of things out of the men.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really weird time. Hopefully, the picture comes more clear. I'm just glad we're up to date. You know what I mean? With what do Stand and Deliver, and find out what happens to NXT the rest of the year. And of course, the night after WrestleMania is going to be important as well, with any call ups or stuff like this as well. So we'll keep everybody addressed of the situation. That is it, though, for today. Don't forget, because all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Monty, where can people find and follow you?
From at my Monty Pod on X, or somewhere trying to curse, learn how to curse people like Dan House. I'm practicing my curse, guys. So we'll see if I can curse somebody on predictions. I'm working on it.
Double R's on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email to double at gmail.com, and YouTube, the Double R Podcast, where we are celebrating nearly 11 years at the WNR with Schultz and WWE 2K26. I tried the gauntlet. I got to 17 and I lost to Stone Cold Steve Austin with his signature, and I was fucking devastated. Go up on YouTube, you can hear my fucking just losing my shit. And of course, the podcast is live on YouTube, also on SoundCloud, on your phone, on Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode is the New Japan catch-up show. I'm going to call it the Dash to Cup. I don't mind that, saves himself, because it will be the New Year Dash up into the New Japan Cup. And then in 2 weeks, it is Stand and Deliver 2026. That's all before we get to WrestleMania and the anniversary show as well, Monty. We've got quite a couple of months ahead.
Yep, quite busy, quite busy. So just if you don't like hearing me speak now, I don't apologize. You got a lot more coming.
Till then, I've been Jay Jones. I was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, thank you for joining me. See, I'm in a much better place than I was on the last update. That's what it's all about.
We gotta get more vanity project on these next episodes.
Don't. Don't. Well, that is it for now. Thanks for listening, and bye.